Hello. Welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. If you want more content, you can follow me on Patreon. I will be uploading more content on there that will be exclusive. The link is in the description. Please support me. 3SF. Chapter 051. The Chunin exam is about to begin. Ask for collection. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Gaara was supported to stand up, then stretched out her hand to wipe off the dust on her face. A bit of killing intent flashed in her eyes. Sensing Gaara's piercing killing intent, Sasuke immediately made a defensive state. You browless guy, what do you want? Kankuro and Temari seemed to instinctively sense what was about to happen, and they opened their hands with apprehension on their faces, and backed away slowly. Apparently out of fear of angering Gaara. This guy is dead. I hope Gaara won't kill him. Temari gritted her teeth slightly. There was nothing she could do about the simultaneous killing intent with Gaara. Although it is said that if the current Gaara kills Ye Shenyue and the others, the future plan may go wrong, but if it is stopped at this time, Gaara may kill both of her. Kankuro thought about it, and said to Gaara cautiously. Gaara, don't go too far. Before he finished speaking, he saw Gaara turning his head, his entire face almost distorted. Shut up, or I'll kill you. Kankuro was startled and waved his hands hastily. Don't dare, I just want to say. After a pause, Kankuro still felt that it was better not to say anything, so he simply closed his mouth. Misfortune comes out of your mouth. You boy. Gaara looked at Ye Shenyue, gritted her teeth and said, I'm going to kill you. Seeing Gaara's gritted teeth, Ye Shenyue looked indifferent. Young man, don't be so angry. Wouldn't it be nice to be happy every day? Worrying all day long. Before Ye Shenyue finished speaking, he saw Gaara wave his hand casually, and a cloud of sand instantly condensed into a hand, which directly squeezed towards Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue narrowed her eyes slightly, the light on her body gradually became stronger, but suddenly dimmed. Sasuke rushed forward, kicked backhand, and kicked the group of sand away. Seeing this scene, Gaara was slightly surprised. Advertisement. Interesting. HMPH, Ye Shenyue, you still have to rely on me when it matters. Uchiha Sasuke smiled lightly, then looked up at Gaara. This is Konoha village, not you, Sunagaku. You are overstepping yourself by entering here for no reason. How dare you do it? Gaara smiled coldly. Then let me see if you Konoha village can save you. The next moment, a terrifying chakra emanated from Gaara's body, and then the sand in front of him trembled slowly, condensing into a huge arm. Seeing the giant hand that was condensed with sand, Sasuke's eyes became fearful. It's a bit tricky. Ye Shenyue looked at Sasuke's shocked eyes, and sighed helplessly. Uchiha Sasuke really felt that he could do it again. It was too early for him to deal with Gaara now. At this time, Temari bit his teeth and hurriedly stopped in front of Gaara. Gaara, big things are important. Don't forget why we came to Konoha. If we say that we killed people here. Gaara closed her eyes slightly after repeated dissuasion from Temari and Kankuro, then sneered and turned around slowly. The giant dust hand turned into common sand again and hit the ground. You better not let me meet again, let's go. After saying that, Gaara was about to turn around and leave. Wait, Uchiha Sasuke said, although the Nation of Wind and Nation of Fire are allies, according to the treaty you are not allowed to cross the border. If you don't explain the reason clearly, we can't let you go. Hey, Ye Shenyue looked at Sasuke as if he was mentally retarded. It's hard for him to leave, so why don't you go to find trouble? Gaara turned her head slightly, but didn't speak, only Temari stood up from the side. He took out a certificate and said to Ye Shenyue. This is the pass, we are Sunagaku who came here to take the Chunin exam. Then, Temari gave Uchiha Sasuke a disdainful look. You Konoha ninjas don't even know about the Chunin exam, do you? Unexpectedly, it seems that Naruto and Sasuke really don't know. Advertisement. Naruto came to Ye Shenyue curiously, and asked in a low voice. Boss, what is the Chunin exam? Hearing this question, Ye Shenyue trembled. If he told Uzumaki Naruto, he would definitely want to participate. Chunin exam too much trouble, what kind of written test, but also through the forest of death. Is he not comfortable enjoying his artistic life with this time? Ye Shenyue simply closed her mouth. But unexpectedly, Temari snorted coldly and said. Just after passing, you can become Chunin from Genin. Dwarf wax gourd. What, can I become a Chunin if I pass the exam? Uzumaki Naruto cheered up instantly. If I pass, maybe Grandpa 3rd generation sees my good performance and can directly make me a Hokage. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Naruto imagined himself wearing the Hokage cloak in his mind, and he smirked unconsciously. Hey, stop dreaming. Anyway, the distance between Chunin and Hokage is too far. Ye Shenyue couldn't help complaining. Gaara turned away and said to Temari. Let's go, there's no need to waste time with him. After all, several people walked forward. Sasuke's eyes changed slightly, and he asked loudly. The one with the gourd on your back, what's your name? Gaara turned her head away and said coldly. I am Gaara of Sandstorm, what's your name? Uchiha Sasuke. The two looked at each other for a moment. Gaara shook his head slowly. Nothing interesting, let's go. Naruto on the side pointed at himself and said excitedly. Advertisement. And me, do you want to know my name too? As a result, Gaara ignored Naruto at all, but Kankuro looked at Naruto and smiled disdainfully. You don't deserve to let him know. Naruto instantly petrified in place. Woo, boss, am I really weak? Uzumaki Naruto held Ye Shenyue's thigh weakly, crying bitterly. Ye Shenyue just wanted to push away this burden, coaxing. You are strong. You already have the strength of Hokage. Let me go. The snot is all over my leg. Really? Naruto cheered up instantly. Boss, we're taking the Chunin exam. I'm going to be Hokage. I'm going to FK that browless guy. Fool. Sasuke looked at Uzumaki Naruto helplessly. You really believe in everything. After the 7th class left here, they suddenly saw a few ninjas sitting on a tree beside them. Those ninjas wore weird clothes, and they wore a sound ninja forehead protector on their heads. No big deal, just a few brats. But that lazy-looking guy, and the guy named Uchiha Sasuke and Gaara, pay special attention. Click. The next moment, several people suddenly found that the originally thick branch under their buttocks broke in two in an instant, and the fracture looked smooth and neat. Boom. Several people fell to the ground with cold faces. Naruto's ears moved in the distance, and he looked at Ye Shenyue suspiciously. Boss, did you hear any strange noises? It's okay. Maybe someone farted after eating too many sweet potatoes, making a fuss. Look at your face that has never seen the world. Chapter 052. The fragrant scene. Open black lens bracket. Ask for flowers. Ask for collection. Close black lens bracket. Next chapter. Advertisement. In the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in front of everyone as the third Hokage. The old guy held a pipe in his hand slightly trembling, and looked at the group of ninjas in front of him vigorously. Everyone looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with admiration. Sarutobi Hiruzen's slightly trembling hands could not be hidden from everyone, as well as his deep dark circles. But in the eyes of everyone, this is proof that the old man is busy with official duties and working day and night for the village, so the look in his eyes is not only admiration, but also concern. Only Kakashi knows that a lot of treasures that he has seen in his family have been lost, and the venerable master Hokage probably did it. Ahem. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed twice before saying when he saw the people below became quiet. The convening of everyone today is not for anything else, but the chunin exam is about to begin, and the time will be July 1st, 7 days later. I have told you this before. I hope everyone will prepare well. Kakashi, who also has dark circles under his eyes, looks tired. Why so fast? Can we wait another half a month? Kakashi has been very tired recently, and he suddenly said something about the chunin exam, and he wants to take a good rest for a while. Because of the chunin exam this time, not only Konoha village, but even several ninja villages around will come here to take the exam. If there is any accident at that time, I am afraid that it will be difficult to deal with it now. Guy on the side rushed to Kakashi, twitched his thick eyebrows, and said with his thumb. Kakashi, entering the chunin exam is the best proof that youth is burning, cheer me up. Kakashi glared at Guy with his dead fish eyes. My youth is over, now it's old age, I want to go back to sleep and read a book. That's right, Lord Third Hokage. Kakashi raised an eyebrow at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't dare to meet Kakashi's eyes, and blushed suddenly when he remembered what he had done. Ahem. The chunin exam has already been decided, and it cannot be changed now, Kakashi. Advertisement. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen cleared his throat and said. Kakashi, Sunset, Asuma, as the director Jonin, would you like to recommend any suitable candidates among the newcomers you are in charge of? Listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, the three of them fell into deep thought. But Iruka, who was hiding in the crowd, couldn't help feeling worried. It's too early for those guys to be chunin. As soon as the voice fell, I heard Kakashi stand up. I recommend Ye Shenyue, Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura from the 7th class to take the chunin exam. Iruka's eyes widened in an instant. He was just a member of the ninja school, and he almost had no right to speak in the crowd, but even in this state, Kakashi couldn't recommend Ye Shenyue and Uzumaki Naruto. Joke. Two guys who have been absent from school all the year round, and they are going to take the chunin exam not long after graduation. How dangerous is the chunin exam? Let them go. Aren't you going to die? No. Iruka stood up subconsciously, and said with a gloomy face. Master Hokage, allow me to say a word. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his eyebrows slightly, and then heard Iruka say. The people Kakashi recommends are all my former students, although they may look outstanding now, but it is too early for them to take the chunin exam. Kakashi looked at Iruka and said seriously. When I became a chunin, I was 6 years younger than the current Uzumaki Naruto. You say it's too early for them to take the exam. Iruka was unmoved at all. You must know that when Kakashi was young, it was during the war. He basically participated in a mission. If he came back alive, he would be eligible to become a chunin, or even a jonin. But few of these people are still alive. You can't say that. This time, before Iruka could finish speaking, Kakashi interrupted him. Don't treat them as students, they are my subordinates now, not your students. Iruka was silent for a moment, unable to speak. Advertisement. In that case, Kakashi, I hope you won't destroy them. Iruka said helplessly. Kakashi shook his head helplessly. There is nothing wrong with letting Ye Shenyue and the others learn more. After the mission of the Kingdom of Waves, the current Kakashi believes that Ye Shenyue and others still have great potential. Especially the strength of that guy Ye Shenyue, not to mention the chunin exam. Kakashi thinks there is no problem for this guy to participate in the jonin, but he is really too lazy. This character still needs to be polished. Kakashi's main purpose is to let Ye Shenyue and others get in touch with ninjas from other villages through this chunin exam, and there is nothing wrong with them. After all, to put it bluntly, maybe it won't be long before they may meet on the battlefield. Even though Konoha village is still in alliance with them now, who can say for sure in the future? Okay, just like this. Kakashi said. Noon the next day. Naruto and the others are waiting for Kakashi by the bridge. I'm already 3 hours late. Why isn't teacher Kakashi here? Naruto clenched his fists and said viciously. Ms. Kakashi is late, not once or twice. Sasuke was also a little helpless. He originally said to gather in the morning, but it was almost noon now, and Kakashi still hadn't arrived. Ye Shenyue was now lying in the shade of a tree not far away and fell asleep with his legs crossed. It seems that he is the most comfortable. After all, there is no need to wait so boring. A black shadow flashed past, and Kakashi squatted on the pillar beside him. Hello, I'm late again today. Kakashi greeted them with a smile. Ms. Kakashi, don't take it for granted that you're late, okay? Naruto, Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura roared angrily. Hey, who's who? Who's here? Ye Shenyue was woken up by several people, subconsciously sat up and looked at them with a sleepy face. The next moment, Ye Shenyue was surprised to find that there was an extra piece of paper in his hand, but it was Kakashi who took advantage of his slack moment and stuffed it into his hand with the body flicker technique. This is the application form for the chunin exam. Ye Shenyue instantly regained her spirits. Advertisement. I don't want to take the chunin exam. I'm still young. I'm going to do AD level mission. Once you take the chunin exam, it means that Ye Shenyue will become a chunin. At that time, I will not be able to be so leisurely, and I will grab the B-level tasks. Ye Shenyue doesn't want to go there. Boss, but after we become chunin, we are one step closer to Hokage. Uzumaki Naruto said to Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue shook his head. I'm not interested in Hokage. My interest is to be a salted fish waiting to die. My dream is to be a salted fish forever. The D-level task is my stubbornness, and the C-level task is my final bottom line. As for the chunin exam, I won't take it even if I die. Humph. Kakashi looked at Ye Shenyue with a smirk on his face. He kept boasting, and now Ye Shenyue said that he didn't want to go to the chunin exam. How can it be? Ye Shenyue, I suddenly feel that your physical fitness has deteriorated. Starting tomorrow, I will go to your house to wake you up at 5 o'clock every day, and run 10 laps around Konoha village with you. Ah, Ye Shenyue looked at Kakashi who turned his face faster than a book with a dazed expression. And bear 100 caddies, you should think about it. Kakashi looked at the hesitation on Ye Shenyue's face, and whispered in his ear. After you become a chunin, you won't be able to guide Jonin anymore. When the time comes, you can set up a team by yourself, so you can do whatever you want. Hiss. Ye Shenyue couldn't help but gasp when she heard this, and then her eyes shone amazingly. Then he grabbed the application form in Kakashi's hand and couldn't wait to sign his name. Chunin exam, long live. Looking at Ye Shenyue who had changed so quickly, the three of Naruto couldn't help but look at each other, and then signed their names. Kakashi held their application form in satisfaction and smiled lightly. I hope you will do well in the chunin exam. If you pass the chunin exam, I treat you to a feast. Chapter 053 Kakashi. Damn, did you fall into the enemy's trap? Ask for flowers. Ask for collection. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Feast. Naruto's eyes lit up. Great. The big meal Mr. Kakashi said must have ramen. I'll order it. Hey, there's no pursuit in life at all. Others go to the chunin exam to become a chunin, but you go to daydream about being a Hokage and eat ramen. Sasuke held his forehead helplessly, and then asked. Mr. Kakashi, among the people of Sunagaku, is there a guy with a gourd on his back and no eyebrows? Kakashi thought for a while. It seems that there is such a person. He also came to take the chunin exam. What's the matter? It's okay. Sasuke's eyes lit up with a trace of fighting spirit. The chunin exam seems to be getting more interesting. Good. Kakashi laughed. It's great to have this pursuit. Kakashi took another look at Ye Shenyue, who was full of excitement, and was speechless for a while. Although Naruto's motives are very suspicious, it's much better than Ye Shenyue, a chunin who is lazy in order to be fair. Kakashi thought about it and didn't bother to say any more. He tidied up the application form and said. Okay, now that you have signed the application form, come to classroom 301 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon 5 days later. After all, Kakashi quickly disappeared from the sight of several people. It's over, let's go home and rest. Ye Shenyue turned her head and walked back towards her home, although the exam would start in 5 days. But this also means that I have nothing to do these few days, so I can have a good sleep. Tired. Ye Shenyue yawned. I only slept for less than 12 hours yesterday, and I was so sleepy that I almost couldn't stand. Advertisement. In fact, Ye Shenyue's various abilities have reached the level of Jonin, except for the damn mental power. This thing Ye Shenyue discovered, in less sleep, other methods will not grow at all. But the good thing is that once Ye Shenyue's spiritual power reaches Jonin's level, it means that he will be completely immune to illusions below cage-level powerhouses. Not only that, but he is also very resistant to general illusions, and he can also see through transformation techniques. Just when Ye Shenyue was going to go home to catch up on sleep, suddenly she frowned slightly. Then he found a person standing in front of him. I saw this ninja wearing a bamboo hat. Since he didn't bring a forehead protector, it was impossible to tell which ninja it was from. But it seems that there is something bad about it. Die. With a roar, the ninja brandished kunai and rushed towards Ye Shenyue. Ah, is that you? Ye Shenyue realized instantly, who is this? It should be that Iruka used the transformation technique to test the 10 newcomers of this year, to see if their strength can take the chunin exam. Not only the 7th class, but also the 8th class and the 9th edition, which are the classes led by Sunset Red and Asuma respectively. There are also Hinata and Ino after all. Ye Shenyue murmured. At this time, the ninja that Iruka turned into saw Ye Shenyue remain motionless in the face of his attack, and also smiled coldly. Only at this level, but still want to take the chunin exam. You will definitely die in it. Ye Shenyue gave Iruka a blank look, shook his head and said. Teacher Iruka, don't make trouble, I'm really sleepy now, let me go home and sleep, I really can't stand it. After all, Ye Shenyue yawned and rubbed his eyes, then walked forward and said to Iruka at the same time. Teacher, let's leave such a boring trick to the juniors of the ninja school, we are already immune. Iruka froze for a moment, then released the transformation technique. Ye Shenyue, how did you see it? Iruka was a little startled, he didn't use illusion, logically speaking, with his transformation technique attainment, it shouldn't be so easy to see it. Anyway, I am also a chunin. What's the deal with being seen through by a genin at a glance? Teacher, you can also fool a fool like Uzumaki Naruto. It's getting late, go home and sleep early. Advertisement. After Ye Shenyue finished speaking, she left without looking back. Late at night, a mysterious ninja wearing a hat appears directly behind Kakashi. And Kakashi seemed to be waiting for a long time, and asked, "How are they?" After the mysterious ninja lifted the transformation technique, he turned into Iruka. After a whole day of testing, Iruka is already full of confidence in the 10 newcomers this time, he smiled lightly. The 10 newcomers performed very well this time. I think the chunin exam should be fine. Hearing this, Kakashi picked up the kissing heaven with confidence and said, "I told you a long time ago, they are my subordinates, can I harm them? If you care about it, it will cause chaos." After saying that, Kakashi walked forward with his head down. "Hey, Kakashi-sensei, don't go any further. We're on the roof now." Before Iruka finished shouting, he heard a plop, and Kakashi fell to the ground in all directions. "Damn, did you fall into the enemy's trap?" Kakashi said angrily. 5 days later, in front of the ninja school, a group of genin gathered. Naruto looked at everything around him with excitement. After all, taking the chunin exam means that he may be promoted to chunin, which is a step closer to his Hokage dream. At the moment, Naruto looked at Ye Shenyue and asked in a low voice. "Boss, do you think we can?" Ye Shenyue stretched her waist, and said lightly. "It's just a chunin exam, not a battle against Uchiha Madara, calm down." Uchiha Madara, who was that? Naruto was stunned. "Oh, an old man who was good at square dancing. It's normal that you don't know him." Advertisement. Ye Shenyue chatted with Naruto one after another, while Sasuke looked around with a look of war, and at this moment he thought of Gaara. After a few days of special training with Kakashi, Sasuke felt that he could do it again. "Now I can definitely defeat that guy." The corners of Sasuke's mouth curled up slightly, showing a strong confidence on his face. Several people went up all the way, and soon came to the front of classroom 301. At this time, many people gathered in front of classroom 301. Boom. A ninja with 3 band-aids on his head and another ninja with a bang threw Lee Lock out. "With only this strength, how dare you come to take the chunin exam?" "It's a joke," the ninja who put on the band-aid sneered. "That's right." The ninja with bangs lowered his head and looked at Lee Lock. "With your strength, you can only die if you come to the chunin exam." "Garbage, garbage." Seeing Lee Lock thrown out every day, he hurriedly helped him up, then looked at the 2 menacing ninjas in front of him with begging eyes, and begged. "Please, let us go into classroom 301. Snapped. The ninja with a pinch of bangs slapped Tien away. "Are you teaching me how to do things again? Huh?" Lie on the ground every day, lowered his head and covered his face, looking a little pitiful. "It's too much," someone in the crowd whispered. "Excessive." A pinch of bangs ninja laughed and said, "This is where we are gentle." His companion also laughed disdainfully. "Chunin is at the level of the captain of the army. If the subordinate's death mission fails, you must know that it is the captain's fault." Then, pointing to Tien and Lee Lock on the ground, he sneered, "I let these troublesome guys stop outside, so that they don't have to bear these responsibilities, am I still wrong?" "You." Tien clenched his fists. In the distance, Ye Shenyue and others also came over. Seeing the pitiful appearance of Xiao Li and Tien, Ye Shenyue couldn't help sighing. Pretending to be the same as the real thing, is this the bad taste of the strong? Chapter 054 Zuzi thinks he can do it again. Open black lens bracket. Please ask for flowers. Ask for collection. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sasuke saw Lee Lock and Tien who were lying on the ground, and then looked at Gang Ziti and Kazuki Izumo who had transformed into genin in front of them. "You two, how long are you going to play these tricks? We are going to 301, not here." Hearing Sasuke's words, many people behind were puzzled. "Isn't the classroom 301 in front of you? Why do you say let them go to 301? Gang Ziti and Kazuki Izumo smiled lightly. "Did you see it?" Uchiha Sasuke nodded, then said to Ye Shenyue, "Did you see it? Not to mention how proud he looks like that." Ye Shenyue was helpless. "Of course I can see it. He used illusion to change this place to 301. In fact, this place is only 201. Wait a minute, Sasuke, is your tone trying to practice with me?" Gang Ziti and Kazuki Izumo looked at each other and smiled, then nodded. The next moment, the door plate in front of the classroom began to distort, and then changed into the appearance of 201. All the ninjas looked at the scene in front of them and looked at each other, only then did they realize that everything in front of them was an illusion. After the illusion was released, Gang Ziti let out a cold snort, and then punched Uchiha Sasuke hard. Uchiha Sasuke narrowed his eyes slightly, and punched him back. Boom. When everyone thought they were going to fight together, they saw a figure in green tights between Sasuke and Gang Ziti. That man was Lee Lock, who was knocked to the ground just now. What? Sasuke watched Lee Lock grab his arm, a hint of horror appeared in his eyes. This guy, the wound on his face has disappeared. And at this speed. Hyuga Ningji and Tien looked at Lee Lock helplessly. Sasuke was horrified to find that the wound on Tien's face was gone. Just when Sasuke was about to say something, Lee Lock's eyes stopped on the little Sakura, and his face turned red at the same time. Advertisement. Here we go again. Tien sighed. I saw Lee Lock striding directly in front of little Sakura, and at the same time asked in a polite tone. "Hi, I'm Lee Lock, may I date you?" This sudden confession, coupled with Lee Lock's extremely unconventional looks and clothes, directly shocked little Sakura. Ah, the little Sakura was stunned, and then subconsciously said. "Your eyebrows are too thick. I don't like it." Quote. Xiao Li immediately petrified on the spot, and then squatted helplessly by the wall, weeping unceasingly. "I thought I would be rejected, but the reason for the rejection is too hurtful. I actually said that my eyebrows are too thick, woo. Hyuga Neji walked in front of Uchiha Sasuke and asked. "May I have your name?" Naruto, who was watching the play just now, suddenly heard Hyuga Neji ask Uchiha Sasuke's name. Suddenly I remembered that Gaara just asked the names of Uchiha Sasuke and Ye Shenyue before, but no one asked me from the beginning to the end. Hateful. In Naruto's eyes, raging anger ignited, and his heart was full of unwillingness. Sasuke glanced at it. Neji snorted coldly. Before asking someone's name, shouldn't you tell me your name first? Neji didn't answer Sasuke's question, and asked in his own way. Tell me your name, how old are you? Are you new? Faced with a series of questions, Sasuke frowned. I have no obligation to answer you. Then tugged and turned to leave. Advertisement. This guy. Neji looked at Sasuke's leaving figure with a hint of anger on his face. Uzumaki Naruto, seeing that he was completely ignored, couldn't get angry, and immediately squatted by the wall with Xiaoli, crying bitterly. Xiaoli looked at Uzumaki Naruto who was squatting with him, and asked in tears. Is it because your eyebrows are too thick? Ah, no, I was ignored. Ye Shenyue glanced at Naruto, and walked towards 301 listlessly. Seeing this, Naruto hurriedly followed. Hey, boss, wait for me. In the stairwell, Kazuki released the transformation technique. The two looked at Neji and Sasuke, and couldn't help but sigh. The newcomer this time is a bit interesting. That's right, it's time to have fun. Seeing that the four of Ye Shenyue were about to leave the second floor, Lilock looked at Sasuke's clothes with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Neji, Tiantian, you go first, I have to confirm some things. Lilock said, standing behind them. Neji frowned slightly, and then said to him, go early and come back early. A few seconds later, when Ye Shenyue and the others were about to leave the second floor, they suddenly heard Lilock's unique voice. You should be Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke looked back subconsciously, and saw Lilock standing not far behind him, looking at him excitedly. Lilock looked at Sasuke very politely and said. I want to challenge you. Advertisement. Sasuke frowned slightly. Naruto heard Lilock chanting Sasuke's name all the time, and couldn't take it anymore. You thick eyebrows, and that guy with the white eyes and the gourd-carrying bastard. It's so annoying to keep calling Sasuke Sasuke. If you want to challenge Sasuke, you have to pass me first. However, Lilock had no interest in Naruto, and still said to Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, please accept my challenge. Lilock's ignorance caused Naruto to explode completely. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. You bastard, let you see how good I am. Then Uzumaki Naruto pumped his fist and punched Lilock in the cheek. Hey, looking at Uzumaki Naruto, Ye Shenyue also sighed helplessly. It's going to be beaten again. Leaf Hurricane. Boom, Uzumaki Naruto was directly kicked on the stomach by Lilock. With a miserable howl, he flew upside down and hit the wall behind him. With a bang, a large piece of wall was knocked off. It hurts, Uzumaki Naruto screamed, clutching his stomach. Seeing that Uzumaki Naruto couldn't take a round in the hands of Lilock, Sasuke was slightly surprised, but he came to Chunin to prove himself and become stronger. Thinking of this, Sasuke stood up and looked at Lilock with a faint smile. So strong. I accept your challenge. However, I will also show you that your strength is not worth mentioning in front of the Uchiha clan. After the mission of the Kingdom of Waves and the special training some time ago, Sasuke believed that there was absolutely no problem with his own strength against Lilock, and looked at Lilock confidently. Only Ye Shenyue sighed silently, and couldn't help muttering. Should I train them well back then, instead of fooling these two guys into being coolies every day? 055 I am the man who wants to become the king of salted fish. Ask for flowers. Ask for collection. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Lilock was happy when he saw Uchiha Sasuke agreeing to his challenge. I heard that you Uchiha are geniuses, let me see you now, Uchiha Sasuke. Friendly reminder, I am very strong, if you are careless, you will be defeated by me, Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke sneered when he saw Xiao Li's strange fighting posture with one hand in front and the other behind his back. TCH, with an opponent like you, I can defeat you in an instant. Sasuke is now extremely confident in his own strength. Looking at Lilock's rustic dress and completely incomprehensible fighting posture, Sasuke will not pay attention to how powerful this kind of person is. In this case, Lilock said seriously, then I'm on it. After the words fell, Lilock's figure disappeared directly in place. What? The speed of this guy. Sasuke was taken aback suddenly, the previous contemptuous attitude instantly disappeared, replaced by an incomparably dignified one. However, it was too late, and by the time Uchiha Sasuke reacted, Lilock had already rushed in front of him. Ah, I can't bear to watch it anymore. It's too miserable. Ye Shenyue turned her head with a hint of guilt, and couldn't bear to look directly. Boom. Sasuke didn't even have time to react when he was kicked hard on the chest by Lilock, and it was too late to react under the severe pain. Fortunately, Lilock did not pursue. After doing a backflip in the air, he landed steadily. When did this guy come to me? Sasuke had a look of astonishment at this moment, he didn't even see Lilock's movements clearly. That nasty guy was blown away. Uzumaki Naruto, who was sitting on the ground, was also a little surprised. He didn't expect Lilock to be so powerful. Advertisement. Haruno Sakura also looked at Uchiha Sasuke worriedly. Sasuke-kun. Be careful. Suddenly appeared in front of me, is this guy using ninjutsu or illusion? Sasuke kept analyzing Lilock's attack methods, with a hint of confusion in his eyes. It was really because Lilock's speed was too fast, which made him overturn the reality that at first he thought that the other party was close to him through physical skills. However, it doesn't matter anymore. In my eyes, all of this is nothing but illusion. Sasuke closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were blood red. Seeing Sasuke's eyes, Naruto was a little surprised. Isn't that the same as Kakashi-sensei's left eye? And there are still 2. At this time, Sasuke's eyes have turned into Sharingan, and it is still 2 Tomo Sharingan. With these eyes, whether it's ninjutsu or illusion, I can see clearly. Sasuke looked at Lee Locke confidently and sneered. HMPH, since that's the case, I'll have fun with you. Sasuke-kun, so handsome. Haruno Sakura's face is full of love. Is that the Sharingan? Lee Locke's eyes became serious. In the next second, Sasuke rushed towards Lee Locke quickly, but... boom. Sasuke was directly kicked on the chin by Lee Locke, and the whole person flew up. Cough. Sasuke barely held back the blow, looking at Lee Locke in shock. How is it possible? Can't this guy's technique Sharingan see through? No, could it be? At the same time, Xiaoli appeared behind Sasuke. Advertisement. That's right, what I use is neither ninjutsu nor illusion. It's pure body art. With Sharingan you can indeed see through all taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu. But the difference is that when dealing with body skills, even if your eyes can see, your body can't keep up. I am different from you, I only know taijutsu. Therefore, in order to become a unique ninja, I have made unimaginable efforts. As a hardworking ninja, I want to see what level my moves can reach in front of genius ninjas. Hearing what Xiaoli said, Ye Shenyue couldn't help but sighed. Sasuke, genius ninja. Hey, poor Sasuke is actually a hardworking ninja, okay. Back then, Shisui jumped off a cliff, and Uchiha Itachi directly opened Mangekyo. When Uchiha Madara was young, because he lost his friendship with Senju Hashirama, he opened the 3-hook jade. And Uchiha Obito was killed by Kakashi Reikiri because of Lin, or Goyu instantly evolved into Mangekyo. But what about Sasuke? The genocide was exterminated, and the murderer was his big brother. Even so, it only opened 1 Tomo Sharingan. This kind of talent, Ye Shenyue thinks that Naruto is better than him. And Uchiha Sasuke's current strength is only due to his own efforts. Is it just a physical technique? Sasuke looked at Lee Locke, feeling confused for a moment. The opponent's speed was too fast, so fast that he couldn't dodge the opponent's attack no matter what. In fact, at this point, Sasuke has realized that he has lost. And it was a complete defeat. However, Lee Locke doesn't think so. He wants to fully prove that he can beat the talented Uchiha clan with hard work. To deal with you, it is worth using that trick. Lee Locke's eyes are full of fierce fighting spirit. It's time to prove that he is already a ninja in his own right. And a tortoise in the dark, seeing Lee Locke's small movement of loosening the bandage, also hurriedly crawled out. When he was about to stop Lee Locke, he suddenly froze. Advertisement. Damn, do you want to use that trick? Ye Shenyue realized instantly that Xiaoli was about to use Biao Lianhua. He stomped his foot on the ground fiercely, and his body rushed out like a cannonball. A palm knocked on Lee Locke's body, and then Lee Locke felt a terrible force hit him. Lee Locke let out a strange cry, flew upside down in an instant, and fell heavily to the ground. Glancing at the dazed Sasuke, Ye Shenyue sighed and said, Sasuke, looking at the results of your own practice over the years, it seems that it is not good. Sasuke was startled, looking at Ye Shenyue with complicated eyes. Good, so strong. Lee Locke slowly got up from the ground, and before he could use Biao Lianhua, he was directly sent flying by Ye Shenyue's palm. At this time, Lee Locke discovered that there are people here who are stronger than Uchiha Sasuke. What's your name? Lee Locke asked, looking down. Naruto ran out furiously. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and this is my boss. Lee Locke was taken aback, straightened up, and shook his head. Sorry, I still want to know his name. Cut, boss. Tell him your name. Naruto crossed his arms and snorted coldly, with a look of disdain on his face. My name is Ye Shenyue, and I am the man who wants to become the king of salted fish. Ye Shenyue said lazily with her waist in the way. Xiaoli looked depressed at Ye Shenyue's bewildering behavior. Why does this guy look so unmotivated? But his palm just now was really strong. After thinking about it, Xiaoli still looked at Ye Shenyue seriously and said. My name is Lee Locke, please Mr. Ye Shenyue. Be sure to accept my challenge. Chapter 056 The appearance is really on time. Open black lens bracket. Subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I always thought that Uchiha Sasuke was the most talented contestant in this chunin exam, but now it seems that you may be stronger than Uchiha Sasuke. Lee Locke looked serious. You really want to challenge me? Seeing Lee Locke nodded solemnly, Ye Shenyue hurriedly said. I have a stomachache. Today's condition is very bad. How about another day? This Lee Locke is purely a martial idiot. He can definitely beat him, but Ye Shenyue is afraid that Xiaoli will stick to him in the future. You can see what happened to Kakashi. He was haunted by Might Guy every day. Lee Locke can naturally see that Ye Shenyue is perfunctory, and said solemnly. Mr. Ye Shenyue, I just want to see what a hardworking ninja like me can achieve in front of a talented ninja like you. Please accept my challenge. After all, he put on a unique posture to face the battle. Seeing the fighting spirit on Xiaoli's face, Sasuke obviously felt a little bit of fear, and said to Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue to you. This guy's physical skills are terrible, don't be careless. Naruto looked at Uchiha Sasuke with disgust, and said dissatisfiedly. Sasuke, don't judge the strength of the boss by your so-called strength. In my opinion, this guy with thick eyebrows can never beat the boss. Idiot. Sasuke looked at Xiaoli with a solemn face. In the fight with Xiaoli just now, Sharingan actually didn't see Xiaoli's movements clearly. One can imagine how fast the opponent is. From this point of view, even if Ye Shenyue matches up, I'm afraid it won't be good. Hey, it's really troublesome. I promised in advance that just this once, next time you pester me again, I'll send you to the hospital. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. Since Xiaoli said it so seriously, it seems that it is not easy to blindly sneak away, and it is better to fight. Hearing that Ye Shenyue agreed to fight with him, Li Lok looked excited, and immediately said. Advertisement. To deal with an opponent like you, I have to go all out. I want to see how cheap my tricks can be compared with you. Li Lok looked very serious, and his fighting spirit was surging. For a while, both Sasuke and Naruto were a little scared. Both of them knew in their hearts that the current self might not be Xiao Li's opponent. The next moment, Li Lok's figure flickered and appeared directly in front of Ye Shenyue. Is this the trick again? Ye Shenyue was speechless. It seemed that Xiao Li still valued him quite a bit. As soon as he came up, he showed Leon was rhythm. If this move was used to deal with Sasuke just now, it would be very useful, but to deal with Ye Shenyue, it can only be said that Li Shang is too much. Boss. Naruto was also very nervous at this time. However, the development of things far exceeded the imagination of a few people. Xiao Li, who was still kicking Ye Shenyue fiercely at that second, flew far away in the next second, and fell to the ground in all directions. In the eyes of Sasuke and Naruto, Ye Shenyue didn't even move. But Li Lok just flew upside down. Phew, I've eaten a lot recently, and the development of the fruit has become more and more lucky, comfortable. Ye Shenyue yawned lazily, with a look of not waking up. Compare the speed with sparkling fruit, isn't this the best? At this time, Xiao Li was lying on the ground with a dazed expression on his face. At that moment just now, he only saw a golden light flash in front of his eyes, and then he flew upside down. What just happened? Xiao Li got up and saw that he was 7 or 8 meters away from Ye Shenyue. Xiao Li scratched his head in confusion. What happened just now? Xiao Li looked at Ye Shenyue thoughtfully, and continued. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue, the challenge is not over yet. Ah, I know. The next moment, Xiao Li burst out with all his strength again, and his figure almost turned into an afterimage, and he came in front of Ye Shenyue in an instant. Boom. Xiao Li flew out again, this time the distance was even further. Okay, Xiao Li, you have already lost. If you hit me again, you will use a knife. White knives go in and red knives come out. Are you afraid? Ye Shenyue put his hands in his pockets, looked at Xiao Li who was struggling to stand up and said nonchalantly. Randomly, Ye Shenyue glanced at Sasuke and the others. Okay, the warm-up exercise is over, brothers, let's take the chunin exam. After saying that, Ye Shenyue walked towards the original 301. And the 3 of Naruto were petrified in place at this time. The 3 of them seemed to have seen a flash of golden light just now, and then Xiao Li flew upside down. As for the appearance, it was because Ye Shenyue's speed was too exaggerated, making them uncertain for a moment. Is this really boss's speed? Naruto's eyes widened. This kind of strength is really too terrifying. This guy. Sasuke's face was complicated, and there was a strong unwillingness in his eyes. Before Sasuke found that Gaara was very strong, and then he found that Xiao Li and Neji were very strong, and now he found that the strongest seemed to be his partner who seemed to be lazy when he disagreed with each other. From this point of view, it seems that I still have to work hard. Behind him, Xiao Li got up staggeringly, and the fighting spirit in his eyes became more and more intense. I'm going to use that move. A trace of firmness flashed in Xiao Li's eyes. Although this trick is my taboo, I can't show it off at will. But I think it has value for you. Advertisement. You're really annoying. I said, if you talk bad again, I'll stab you to death. Ye Shenyue narrowed her eyes slightly, and looked at Xiao Li with a murderous look on her face. Seeing Ye Shenyue's expression, Xiao Li was stunned for a moment, and when he didn't know what to do, he saw a figure crawling to the side suddenly and slowly. Enough, Xiao Li. Don't use that trick. I saw a huge tortoise speak. Huh, that looks like a turtle. He's talking. Naruto was surprised, he had never seen a talking turtle. Ye Shenyue recognized the turtle immediately. Looks like guy's summoning beast. When Xiao Li saw the turtle, he immediately stood up straight and lowered his head. Teacher, I was wrong. Naruto was stunned for a moment. What the hell? Call a tortoise teacher. The next moment, just hear a bang. A burst of white eyes scattered. On top of the tortoise, a very enchanting guy appeared in front of everyone. That person has the same green tights as Xiao Li, the same watermelon head, and thicker eyebrows than Xiao Li. There it is, the guy with the thicker eyebrows. Naruto widened his eyes, pointed at Guy and said in surprise. It was also the first time for Ye Shenyue to see Guy, and she was immediately shocked by his face. This is the guy who almost kicked the finale. Good guy, he looks so punctual. 057 regret now. Late. Second update. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I saw Xiao Li striding towards Guy, with tears in his eyes. Teacher Guy. Xiao Li threw himself into Guy's arms, and Guy also hugged Xiao Li with tears streaming down his face. Xiao Li. A man's youth will not die just because of one failure. Guy cried and said, but don't go against the original intention of being a ninja. Seeing the 2 green-skinned monsters embracing each other like father and son, Sasuke and the others couldn't help covering their faces, unable to bear to look directly. Sasuke is even more skeptical about life. Just now, I was defeated by this kind of guy. Xiao Li wiped away tears and said, Mr. Guy, I'm sorry, I didn't intend to use that trick. Guy put his hands on Xiao Li's shoulders, and said earnestly. Okay Xiao Li, youth and mistakes are always accompanied. Don't take it to heart. Teacher, however, you fought without authorization, and even used your inside skills. According to the rules, I will punish you. Hearing the punishment, Xiao Li looked very serious and said politely. Yes, run 100 laps around the practice field. No problem, Mr. Guy. Seeing the 2 people's self-contained conversation, and their incomparably intimate expressions, coupled with the greasy green tights, the entire 7th class felt chills. It's okay to have such a weird genin, but how can there be such a weird teacher? It's scary. Sasuke held his forehead. What's wrong with me? Why was I defeated by that guy? No, I have to work hard. Advertisement. But, what happened to that turtle? Is he also a ninja teacher? Naruto's mind was still on the turtle. Guy then turned to look at Class 7. Hi, boys from Class 7, how is your teacher Kakashi? Guy exposed a mouthful of white fang, the glaring light made several people's eyes hurt. Sasuke was a little puzzled, do you know Mr. Kakashi? Sasuke can't remember when Kakashi saw this guy with watermelon head, thick eyebrows and green tights. Guy smiled confidently, of course. Then Guy disappeared from the spot in an instant. What? Where did you go? Sasuke's eyes widened instantly, and he couldn't even see the opponent's movements at all. I saw Guy standing behind the crowd and said with a proud face. Me and the genius ninja Kakashi are called eternal rivals. When did you run back? Naruto looked surprised. While you were in a daze. Ye Shenyue sighed. This Mr. Guy is too lively and active, so difficult to get along with. My competition with him. The record so far is 5 to 4005. Guy pointed his thumb at himself and said, I'm stronger than Kakashi. I'm afraid what this guy said is true, this speed is a bit outrageous. But, Mr. Kakashi wins another round, wouldn't it be a draw? Ye Shenyue said quietly. Ignoring Guy's bragging, Ye Shenyue looked up at the clock hanging on the wall. Hey, there are less than 15 minutes left, let's hurry up. Ye Shenyue urged. Finish it early, finish it early. Guy nodded, pointed in the direction of classroom 301 and said. Advertisement. Well, it makes sense, then you should hurry to the classroom. Don't be late. Everyone nodded and hurriedly turned to go to the classroom, but on the way they saw Shaoli adjusting his bandages. When fighting against Sasuke just now, Shaoji was actually ready to use Bialianwa. It was only interrupted by Ye Shenyue, but his bandage came loose at that moment. Sasuke saw the scar on Shaoli's hand instantly. Under the bandage, almost all of Shaoli's fists were covered with scars, both old and new, and there were a few scars that were obviously just formed in the past few days. See, Sasuke, he works harder than you. If you're not going to chase him now, it might be too late later. Ye Shenyue patted Sasuke on the shoulder. At that time, it may be similar to now, and there is no way to fight back. There was a firm look in Sasuke's eyes, although he is not Shaoli's opponent yet. But if I put in some effort, I still have a chance to catch up with Shaoli. And Shaoli is now adjusting the bandages, looking at the 7th class and saying. Actually, in this chunin exam, the strongest one is a member of our group. I don't just want to defeat him. Sasuke and Ye Shenyue, you are my target. Naruto pointed at himself excitedly, and said to Shaoli. What about me? What about me? Shaoli was stunned for a moment, then said. You, hope that one day you will become my new target. This sentence was too heartbreaking for Naruto, he lowered his head and muttered unwillingly. Am I really that weak? At this moment, Naruto felt that his life was gloomy. This idiot, Sasuke said helplessly, is it so easy to be hit? However, several figures flashed in Sasuke's mind again. Not only Ye Shenyue, even Gaara, Neji, and Shaoli seemed to be stronger than themselves. Things seemed to be getting a little more interesting, but I must be the winner in the end. Advertisement. Sasuke clenched his fists with a look of fighting spirit. It's obviously meaningless, Ye Shenyue muttered sleepily. Let's hurry to 301. Naruto also raised his interest, and now he has a reason to fight. Chunin exam. In front of classroom 301. I saw Kakashi standing at the door of the classroom, as if he had been waiting for a long time. Ms. Kakashi, Uzumaki Naruto was a little surprised, why are you here? Seeing that Ye Shenyue and the others had come, Kakashi reluctantly put away and made love to heaven. Sure enough, you're here. Kakashi had some smiles on his face. I've always been guessing whether you have the courage to come to this step. Now it seems that you haven't let me down. Well, I hope you won't disappoint me in the future. Ye Shenyue looked hopeless. After meeting Shaoli, he didn't want to face the chunin exam. There are more and more monsters like Qian Lizao, Shaoli, and it may be more troublesome at that time, and he hates trouble the most. Regret now. Too late. Kakashi sneered. The task this time is all in groups. Your 7th class is a group. If someone retreats now, then Naruto, Sasuke and little Sakura will not be able to take the chunin exam. You can ask them, are you willing? The next moment, Ye Shenyue felt the murderous gazes from the 3 of them, and he hastily raised his hand. Okay, this matter is over, how about it? Hehe, wouldn't it be fine if you had this kind of awareness a long time ago? Kakashi slowly opened the door of classroom 301. No, now let's show you the charm of the chunin exam. Watching the 4 of them walk into the gate slowly, Kakashi heaved a sigh of relief. The next moment, when Kakashi heard Naruto's exclamation, the smile on his face increased. I really don't know what the chunin exam will be like today. Chapter 058 Dream Ambassador, Yakushi Kabuto please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Entering classroom 301, it feels like a sea of people. The ninjas from countless villages gathered together. Roughly estimated, there are at least 100 people. Some ninjas from other villages approaching the door even looked at Ye Shenyue and the others with very unfriendly eyes. Wow, there are so many people at the beginning of Chunin. Naruto exclaimed excitedly. Ye Shenyue looked at these people and sighed, it seemed that he had too many opponents. If he remembered correctly, apart from himself, including Sasuke and Naruto, there were a total of 153 people. Counting myself, there are a total of 154 people, and it is still unknown how many of them can successfully become Chunin. Moreover, after the Chunin exam, there are more exciting things waiting for him. Hey, I knew I wouldn't agree to life and death. Isn't it good to sleep at home at this time? Naruto and the 3 of them are also okay. Anyway, a group of 3 is a symbolic lineup. Ye Shenyue immediately retreated, rubbing her chin and thinking about the consequences of running away now. These people all look so strong. There was a hint of excitement in Naruto's eyes. If I beat these guys, I can become Hokage. Ye Shenyue looked helplessly at 747 Naruto, and then suddenly felt a familiar fragrance penetrate into his nose. Looking down, it was actually Ino who came in front of him. Ye Shenyue, I miss you so much. Have you come to take the chunin exam? Ino looked excited. Let's work hard together to become chunin. Before Ye Shenyue could answer, he saw Hinata also slowly walking to his side. Mr. Ye Shenyue, long time no see. Advertisement. Long time no see. Hinata, Ino. Ye Shenyue smiled faintly. To be honest, I decided to take the chunin exam just to be able to meet you. Ye Shenyue seems to have become accustomed to girls saying things against his will. When Ino and Hinata heard this, their faces blushed slightly. At this time, Shikamaru and Choji also walked over slowly. Hello, Ye Shenyue, I didn't expect you to come to take this boring chunin exam. Shikamaru looked listless. Like Ye Shenyue, he didn't want to take this extremely troublesome chunin exam. Finally someone said that the chunin exam is boring. Hey, bosom friend. Ye Shenyue burst into tears. At this time, Inuzuka and Aburame Shino also came together. Finally see you all, this time a newcomer is considered lost. Inuzuka gave a faint smile, passing the chunin exam is the first step for me to become a Hokage. Akamaru on his head also barked, as if looking forward to it. Seeing that Inuzuka also wanted to be Hokage, Naruto immediately grinned. Only I can be Hokage. Shut up, Juno. Inuzuka gave a cold snort. Naruto was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, suddenly saw Aburame Shino next to Inuzuka Fang, and said doubtfully. Is this classmate also in your class? Why have I never seen it before? Naruto really can't remember when he met Aburame Shino, but he just thinks this person is very familiar. Aburame Shino looked very embarrassed. After a moment of silence, he pushed his eyes on the bridge of his nose. Naruto, we are classmates at the ninja school. Naruto snorted, but still didn't seem to remember. Advertisement. This Aburame Shino, the sense of existence is too weak. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. And Choji looked at a kainu on Inuzuka's head, chewing potato chips silently for a year, and couldn't help but think. This dog looks delicious. Ye Shenyue looked around and made sure. The 10 newcomers for the chunin exam can now be said to be all in one. Listening to everyone's excited chat, Ye Shenyue looked bored. Hey, it's still comfortable in my own bed. At this moment, I suddenly saw someone approaching and whispered to them. I said, it's better for you guys to be quiet. Everyone looked back in doubt, and saw a ninja with silver hair and eyes ACDJ walking slowly towards them. Seeing this person, Ye Shenyue, who was a little sleepy at first, became refreshed in an instant. Dream Ambassador. Brother Do. In the Fourth Ninja World War, the military achievements were outstanding, and I don't know how many scenes of confession were created. There are even ninjas from the Impure World reincarnation, present to Tamari on the spot. There is also Wu Lu's touching scene, which is simply touching. I saw Do walking over slowly, leaning against the side wall with his waist in his arms, and said to everyone. Aren't you the 10 newcomers who just graduated from the ninja school? You've been chattering since you first came here, it's just too noisy. Naruto was speechless. What does talking by himself have to do with him? As for Sasuke, he said directly to the pocket, who are you? You look so self-righteous. You're even more annoying than Naruto. Do didn't take Sasuke's accusation seriously, leaned against the wall, smiled lightly, my name is Do, as for you, you'd better look around. Shikamaru turned his head slowly, then shook all over. Advertisement. Only then did everyone realize that many people were staring at them with murderous eyes. Seems like blaming them, it was so loud. Do smiled lightly and said to everyone. These people are ninjas from Rain Shinobi Village. They are impatient, and everyone will be nervous before the exam, so don't provoke them. Naruto nodded with a face of cold sweat, seeming to approve of the words of the bag. Seeing the nervousness of these people, Duwu smiled faintly. I can't blame you for this. I was like this when I took the exam for the first time. So, you are a senior, right? Shikamaru looked at the bag and asked, then this is your second time here. Having such a senior by his side made everyone feel more at ease. Yakushi Kabuto smiled lightly. No, this is the 7th time, because there are only 2 exams a year, so, this is already the 4th year. After all, he scratched his head in embarrassment. #TXX. Even if it's a fool like Naruto, he understands something. Then you failed 4 years in a row. Looking at Naruto's questioning gaze, Yakushi Kabuto also smiled awkwardly and said, there is no way around this, so we have to work hard this time. However, since you are the 7th time, you should be very familiar with the content of the exam, right? Sasuke asked doubtfully. As long as he knows some information about the exam, it may be more reliable for him. Yakushi Kabuto nodded, and then took out the Yijin card. This is my unique ninja card. I have stored all the information I have collected over the past 4 years on it. I can activate it with my chakra to see the content on it. Amazing, Naruto exclaimed, but Ye Shenyue has a look of contempt on his face. Maybe he doesn't know all the content on the 200 or so ninja cards. Chapter 059 The Terrifying Chunin Exam. Elite ninjas from various countries please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. And Yakushi Kabuto still explained it for everyone. For example, this ninja card records the number of people who participated in the chunin exam. When Yakushi Kabuto just touched the ninja card with his finger, before he poured his own chakra, he heard Ye Shenyue say faintly. There are a total of 154 people in this chunin exam. Konoha is the most with 88 people, and Otoshi is the least with only 3 people. As soon as the words fell, I saw the content on the ninja card, which was exactly the same as what Ye Shenyue said. Wow, Mr. Ye Shenyue is amazing. You still know this kind of information. Ino was amazed. This guy, on the surface, is a salty fish, but is he actually working harder than me? Sasuke clenched his fists and thought to himself. I must surpass this man. Yakushi Kabuto also looked embarrassed. That's right, this companion is right, it's like this, and at the same time, there are some other ninja information on my ninja card. What? Sasuke instantly regained consciousness. Can I check the information on Gaara and Lee Locke? He still couldn't forget that these two people seemed to be stronger than himself, and he vowed to defeat them. Of course there is no problem. Yakushi Kabuto smiled lightly, then took a ninja card and pressed it on the ground. And Ye Shenyue's voice sounded again. Lee Locke has performed 20D level tasks and 11C level tasks. He is 1 year older than us. His physical skills have improved a lot this year, but his ninjutsu and illusion skills are very weak. Sure enough, the content on the ninja card was exactly the same as what Ye Shenyue said. Yakushi Kabuto was surprised again. What's the situation? I just wanted to use the ninja card I developed to pretend to be a force. Advertisement. It turned out that Ye Shenyue's intelligence was almost as comprehensive as his own. And he still memorized it, and he still had to read it according to the above. It was completely crushed, right? Ye Shenyue-kun. You are amazing. Hinata adored. Sasuke also seemed to suddenly realize at this time. It turns out that Ye Shenyue searched for Xiao Li's information in advance to defeat Xiao Li. He seems to only know how to sleep every day, but secretly put so much effort into it. Compared to him, what is my power? At this time, Sasuke secretly made up his mind that he must put in 100 times more hard work in training in the future. Be sure to beat Ye Shenyue. Lee Locke. Lee Locke is a ninja from Konoha, so everyone knows it is normal, but I also have information on Gaara. Yakushi Kabuto awkwardly took out a card. This is loaded with Gaara's information, but because this person is a ninja from the outer village, and he rarely has contact with Konoha, so I don't have a lot of information about him. Yakushi Kabuto smiled slightly at this time. Gaara's information must be unique to him. After all, I have collected the information for a long time. Although it is not perfect, it is still hard work. Gaara, the ninja of Sunagaku, who has performed C-level missions 8 times, and successfully performed a B-level mission as a genin, and has never been injured during the mission. Ye Shenyue said slowly again. These contents should be the contents on the ninja card. As for more contents, Ye Shenyue naturally knows, but it may not be good to say it now, because the source of the information may be questioned. These contents still belong to some things that can be collected with care. And Yakushi Kabuto is not a good person, Ye Shenyue still knows this. After hearing this, Yakushi Kabuto trembled all over, only to see that the content on the ninja knowledge card was exactly the same as what Ye Shenyue said. Advertisement. It's amazing. Yakushi Kabuto said in amazement, even I managed to gather all this information, but you actually know it all. Of course, these are some information that can be collected with a little effort, but Gaara is too mysterious. This is all I have collected. Ye Shenyue smiled lightly, he didn't want to expose himself. As that's so, Sasuke looked at Ye Shenyue and couldn't help frowning and thinking. It turns out Gaara has been trying to gather intel since we first met him a few days ago. Sure enough, there are no geniuses in this world. Does this guy look lazy, but is he secretly working hard? At this moment, Ye Shenyue suddenly became taller in Sasuke's heart. Hey, of course you can't compare to my boss. After all, he is the boss I recognize. Naruto looked at Sasuke's lonely eyes with a look of pride. Ye Shenyue smiled lightly and explained. It's just because I put my heart into it. If you also put your heart into collecting this information, you can do it. Yakushi Kabuto also let out a long sigh. I didn't expect that the information I collected in the past 4 years is not as good as you. 0. Asking for flowers. After all, Yakushi Kabuto is a bit autistic. But he still remembers his mission. If Ye Shenyue only has this, he still doesn't have to take it to heart. After all, I didn't really come to take the chunin exam. After thinking about it, he said. The ninjas who came this time are all elites from various countries. This chunin exam is supposed to promote chunin on the surface, but in fact, it is to inspect each other's military reserves among the major powers. What? Uzumaki Naruto looked confused. You mean, are the people here this time all experts? Hinata on the side also said in a low voice. Is so powerful. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue looked at the unconfident Hinata and immediately cheered up. It's fine, just work hard, and you're amazing, Hinata. Point 0. After eating beef jerky from Cretan cattle, Hinata's strength can be said to have improved by leaps and bounds, and there shouldn't be any major problems in the chunin exam. It's just that Xiaonizi doesn't know her real strength very well, and she is a little timid, so she always feels that her strength is average. Do looked at Naruto and nodded. That's right, this time it's just like Xiao Li and Gaara. They are all elites among genin from various countries. This chunin exam is not that simple at all. After hearing that all the people who came were elites, Uzumaki Naruto also showed a hint of excitement on his face. He didn't expect that all the guys who came here were such powerful guys. As long as you can defeat these people, you should be able to become a chunin. This is one step closer to Hokage. The more Naruto thought about it, the more excited he became, his whole body trembling. And his abnormal state made Sasuke beside him couldn't help complaining. This idiot, isn't it frightened? At this time, Uzumaki Naruto lowered his head and trembled violently all over his body. Everyone's attention was on the body of the bag, only Sasuke saw it. Idiot, I didn't expect to be so afraid at this time. He kept saying that he wanted to be a Hokage. Humph, what a joke. After thinking about it, Sasuke couldn't help comforting Uzumaki Naruto. At the end of the crane, this is just an exam, you don't have to take it too seriously, after all, you have taken the exam 7 times. However, Naruto ignored Sasuke at all, stepped on the table directly, and then pointed to everyone in front of him. Pill, 060 everyone sitting here is hot chicken, 5th update. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue, who was dozing off on Ino's shoulder, suddenly saw Naruto's actions and suddenly trembled all over. Hey, no way. Ye Shenyue's pupils suddenly shrank to the tip of a needle, and she suddenly had a very bad premonition. I saw Naruto took a deep breath, and then shouted out of breath. I am Naruto, Genin from Konoha village. I will become the strongest Hokage man in the future. Remember, in the next exam, I will defeat all of you. Naruto's words directly quieted the chaotic scene instantly, and everyone was dumbfounded. And Naruto, the instigator, seems to think that one sentence is not enough. At the critical moment, this guy actually remembered an extremely pretended sentence he learned when he was with Ye Shenyue. What to look at? I'm not targeting anyone, I mean everyone here is hot chicken. Idiot, shut up. 623, Sasuke hurriedly hugged Naruto down and covered his mouth. If it is said that the crowd was noisy just now, they just offended the ninjas of Rain Shinobi village. The current Naruto has already annoyed everyone who came to take the chunin exam. How dare this guy openly yell at everyone as hot chickens? Sasuke glanced around subconsciously, and saw countless ninjas from other villages staring at them with murderous eyes. This posture seemed to kill them by 1,000 knives. Phew, much more comfortable. Naruto had a smile on his face, looking very happy. Idiot, crane tail. Ye Shenyue couldn't help but just gave him a few popcorns. Advertisement. Then Ye Shenyue stood aside, shaking hands. I don't know this yellow-haired fellow. If you want to beat him, beat him. So troublesome. Shikamaru rubbed his temple helplessly. If Naruto does this, we will become the public enemy of all people. And Naruto didn't seem to understand what Shikamaru and others meant, just smirked. At the same time, Gaara, Temari and Kankuro, hiding in the crowd, saw Naruto and Ye Shenyue at a glance. It's the yellow-haired idiot. And Ye Shenyue and Sasuke. Gaara smiled lightly. They're here too, it's so interesting. Well, it's interesting. It seems that in addition to carrying out boring plans, you can find a lot of fun in the middle. Temari said with a smile while crossing his hands. While Xiao Li was arranging his bandages, he also saw Naruto. That guy is so passionate. This is youth. I really misjudged him before. A thick flame burned in Xiao Li's eyes. Mr. Guy, I found someone with the same youthful blood as me. Did you see that? Neji on the side smiled lightly and said. It seems that your battle with them still didn't scare them. What a bunch of interesting newcomers. Do smiled helplessly, and explained to Ye Shenyue and others. As I said before, these people are the elites of the ninja villages around them. It's better not to offend them. Even if it is the smallest Yin village. Do changed the subject. Although he has not been established for a long time and is only a second-rate ninja village, he still cannot be underestimated. The situation is very bad now. As soon as the voice of Dudu finished speaking, the three people from Yin village who were sitting in the corner suddenly became unhappy. This guy with glasses. He dared to say that our Yin village is a second-rate ninja village. Let him see how powerful the second-rate ninja village is. His companion also smiled. How about playing with him? Anyway, the exam is still early. Advertisement. And among the Yin three people, the only girl who was black and straight said indifferently. Okay, he actually said that we are second-rate ninjas, so let us help him add the information of Yin village on his damn ninja card. As for the means, it's better to be cruel. The ninja trio is Sak with air pockets in his arms, Chin, a straight black girl, and Toss, whose face is covered with bandages. The three of them didn't really come to take the chunin exam, and now they heard someone slandering their village, so they were naturally very angry. Okay, Ye Shenyue naturally saw the three people. It's better to give him a good beating. I saw Sak, who had air pockets in both arms, sprinting towards the pocket in an instant, and the ninjas along the way looked at Sak with surprised eyes. And Sak seemed to like this feeling very much, he sneered while running. Then he jumped up, his eyes filled with violence and darkness. Let me see, who is the second-rate ninja? The next moment, Sak punched Do's cheek fiercely. Do Leng snorted, raised his arm, and firmly caught the punch. HMPH, but that's all. Before Yakushi Kabuto finished speaking, he flew upside down in an instant and hit the ground heavily. What, isn't it blocked? Jing was surprised. Seeing Do lying on the ground, Shikamaru thought about it. It's a bit strange, it should have been blocked just now. Wow, Do lay on the ground, trembling all over, and vomited out directly. Senior Do, advertisement. Naruto saw the beating, and hurriedly helped him up. Senior, are you okay? Dodo reluctantly waved his hand, then Sak looked at Naruto and said lightly. Yellow-haired boy, your so-called senior said that our Yin village is a second-rate ninja village, so we just want to teach him a lesson, can't we? Until then, Naruto saw the opponent's forehead protector. Are you a ninja from Yin village? However, even if this is the case, you shouldn't hurt Senior Do before the exam. In Naruto's eyes, Do is still a very gentle senior, and now seeing him being beaten up by other ninjas from Ninja Village, he is naturally very angry. Sak looked a little impatient, looked at Naruto and said, why are you so annoying? I didn't hit you, why are you so anxious? Naruto snorted coldly, I don't care, I hurt Senior too. Then Naruto rushed directly towards Sak, waving his fist. Hey, idiot, Sasuke hurriedly stopped Naruto, you don't even know the strength of your opponent, so you rush forward. Sasuke is still very puzzled now, how did Sasuke injure 0.4 pocket, just now he clearly saw that the punch had been blocked by the pocket. There must be some means in it, Naruto stepped forward like this, no different from looking for a fight. I am afraid that the end will be even worse than that. Ha ha ha, I can see it. What kind of ninjas are you? If we are second rate, how many are you? Seeing Sasuke fearing him so much, Sasuke also laughed, then turned around and looked at Sasuke with disdainful eyes. You Konoha ninjas are nothing more than that. Hearing this, Naruto broke away from Sasuke's shackles with great force. I want you to pay the price. Naruto roared and punched hard. Ye Shenyue saw her naive little brother rushing up hastily, and sighed helplessly. Laozi absolutely owed you in his previous life. Chapter 061 Maybe there is a risk of being caught in the pot. 6th update. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sak was originally very upset when he looked at Doan talking, but now he saw that Naruto wanted to beat him, and he was suddenly happy. Little devil, you don't even look at your weight. How dare you challenge me? Sak had little interest in an opponent like Naruto, so he punched him casually. Seeing that the two were about to fight, a dazzling golden light instantly appeared between Naruto and Sak. The next moment, the two stopped involuntarily. How can it be? Sak frowned, looking at Ye Shenyue in surprise. This guy's speed is not inferior to mine. I saw that my fist was easily grasped by a hand, and no matter how hard I tried, that hand seemed to be like a pliers, which kept me unable to break free. And Naruto also widened his eyes, exclaiming again and again. Boss. At the critical moment, Ye Shenyue arrived and successfully organized the fight between the two. Hey, you bastard, how dare you stop me? Sak frowned, aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Ye Shenyue didn't bother to talk to Sak at all, and was a slap in the face of Naruto's head. I'm not your boss, you are my boss, can't you keep a low profile and get 102 points in peace? What about passing the chunin exam well? Ye Shenyue was furious. This bastard has been causing trouble all the time. He has been too lazy to talk. As a result, this guy has made an inch of it. Now it is difficult for him to keep a low profile. Naruto clutched his head and begged for mercy repeatedly, while Sak looked at Ye Shenyue who didn't take him seriously at all, when the cold light flashed and was about to explode. Boom. Advertisement. At this moment, there was a sudden loud noise, and then the door was kicked open. The smoke and dust dissipated, and many ninjas appeared in front of everyone. The leader was a big man with scars all over his face, a turban on his head, and an extremely fierce face. It's Ibiki Morino. The crowd of Konoha chunin behind them also looked badly at the visitor. Standing in front of the examinees, these people are like a group of killing gods. The classroom, which was still a little noisy, became quiet in an instant. These guys. Sasuke's complexion changed slightly. As this our Konoha's chunin and jonin. Damn, they look so strong. Seeing the murderous look on Morino Ibiki's face, Sak also paused, then gritted his teeth and retreated to the side. Boy. You were lucky. You bastards. Quiet me. Mori Bixi let out an angry roar, and in an instant, everyone's hearts were raised. Some timid ninjas even sweat profusely from being scared on the spot. Ibiki Morino, the captain of Konoha Anbu's torture department, really lives up to his reputation. Ye Shenyue slapped Naruto's head hard for the last time, then put his hands in his pockets and said. This momentum is really scary. The venue fell silent instantly, no one wanted to offend this vicious person. Everyone, are you tired of waiting? Morino Ibiki looked at everyone with a gloomy expression. Let me introduce myself, I am the examiner for the first exam of the Chunin selection exam. Ibiki Morino. Advertisement. After saying that, Ibiki Morino stretched out his finger and pointed at the Yinli trio. You genins of Yinyan village. Quiet me, otherwise, I will disqualify you from the exam. Sak shook his head helplessly, so he had no choice but to give in first. I'm really sorry, it's the first time we take the Chunin exam, and we're a little too excited. Then, he looked at Naruto and Ye Shenyue with a hint of provocative eyes. We'll pay attention next time. Naruto gritted his teeth when he saw Sak's eyes that deserved a beating. He just wanted to make a move when he saw Ye Shenyue's murderous eyes. Ah, Morino Ibiki sneered and said, it's time, and I would like to remind you. It is forbidden for examinees to engage in private fights in the examination venue. Even with the examiner's permission, they cannot kill each other. If there is any violation, immediately disqualify the exam. Do you understand? All genin nodded wildly, looking at Morino Ibiki in fear. Hearing that killing is not allowed, Sak, one of the Otonin trio, smiled disdainfully and whispered. Isn't this too easy? Really? Ibiki Morino naturally saw Sak's little trick, and he ignored it with a muffled grunt. He just looked at Ye Shenyue with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Has this little brat who made trouble in the Muya commercial street grown up? Back then, Ibiki Morino had seen Ye Shenyue's methods when he was eating at a grilled chicken restaurant. He still doesn't quite understand how Ye Shenyue suddenly became a light element. Secretly sighed, Morino Ibiki quickly focused on the Chunin exam, and he said to everyone. The first test will start right now. Submit your application forms in order. Then get your number plate and go to the corresponding seat. The papers for the written test will be issued in a while. Mori Ibi liked Gang Ziti beside him, and shook the thick stack of papers in his hand to everyone, with a strange smile on his face. A written test. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue nodded. The actual significance of this exam is to examine the intelligence-gathering ability of ninjas, but this has nothing to do with him. Because the written test is not difficult for me. Hey, the troubles of geniuses. The written test is too easy. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. Shikamaru on the side looked at Ye Shenyue with sympathy. Yes. This first exam is so easy. Sasuke has black lines on his face, these two pretend to commit crimes. And Naruto is petrified in place. After a few seconds, he reacted with an extremely long reaction arc. I saw Naruto clutching his hair tightly, his eyeballs were wide open, the muscles on his face twisted, his mouth opened wide, and he looked at the paper in horror. Written examination. Naruto collapsed in an instant. He was worst at the written test, but he didn't expect that the first test was actually a written test. Naruto was like a walking dead. After submitting the application form and receiving the number plate, he sat in a corner, his whole body seemed to lose color. And Ye Shenyue sat on a chair with a pen in his mouth, looking idly. People, sometimes they are so happy. After all, luck is really good. I saw Ino sitting on the left of Ye Shenyue, and Hinata sitting on the right. The two girls all looked at him with admiring eyes, and they would not look away for almost a moment. Damn it, the examiner won't think that I'm copying my papers for them, and then drive the three of us out together. Thinking of that scene, Ye Shenyue suddenly felt a lot of pressure. If this is the case, then a total of 10 newcomers and 3 classes will probably be taken over by one pot. So exciting. Just when Ye Shenyue was secretly worried, Morino Ibuxi walked up to the stage, tapped on the blackboard, and then held a chalk and looked at everyone with a kind expression. Don't move. Listen to me about the rules of this exam. The air seemed to be freezing cold at this very moment, and everyone was trembling, waiting quietly for Morino Ibuxi to speak. Chapter 062. The Trembling Uzumaki Naruto. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. First, this exam implements a point deduction system. You all have 10 points at the beginning. There are 10 questions in total, and 1 point will be deducted for every wrong answer. In other words, those who answer all 10 questions correctly will get 10 points, and those who get 3 questions wrong will only get 3 points. And, this game is based on the average score of the group members. The team with the highest average score of all the members in the group wins. What? Ye Shenyue was a little surprised. It should be calculated based on the total score. From this point of view, it is special care for our 7th class. There are 4 people in the 7th class. Is there no advantage now? But it's okay, it shouldn't matter, the content of the exam is just a change. By the way, I remember that I should be able to sleep beautifully. It seems that something is wrong. At this time, Sasuke also had a look of horror. Average score. Can Naruto answer a question correctly? It's over, it's miserable. At the same time, Naruto lay down on the table with a look of despair and loneliness. An uncle next to him, Genin of Konoha, looked at Naruto and smiled, blinking his shoulders and said, "Young man, don't panic for the first test. Look at me, I have been taking the test for 10 years. I haven't given up this year. Hasn't it been 10 years? Naruto's eyes lost their light, it feels like I'm about the same. At this moment, Naruto is already desperate, especially with a 10-year-old senior next to him, he is so depressed that he wants to die now. Seeing everyone's tense expressions, Morino Hibiki gave a sinister smile. One more thing, if there is any improper behavior, such as cheating or being recognized as cheating, if the invigilator finds out once, 2 points will be deducted directly. If all 10 points are deducted, you will be expelled from the examination room. Advertisement. Evicted from the exam room. Oops. Sasuke turned his head to look at Naruto, who was sitting in the corner very lonely, with a hint of worry in his eyes. Idiot. Don't seek death. Even if it is 0, relying on myself, Ye Shenyue and little Sakura, maybe the average score can be raised. When the time comes, Naruto still has a chance. Thinking of this, Sasuke secretly evaluated his own IQ, and felt that if he didn't cheat, there might be something to be done. Oh, by the way, there is one more. Morino Ibiki said with a relaxed face, if one member of the group is deducted all points, or gets 0 points in the test paper, all members of the group will lose their qualifications for the exam. Quote. Hearing what Morino Ibiki said, the faces of Sasuke and little Sakura froze instantly. What? Do something. Like Naruto, can you beg him for a point? Naruto immediately felt 2 killing intense, attacking him. But Ye Shenyue felt relieved when she heard this, and lay down directly on the table, feeling sleepy. Hurry up and hand out the papers. Morino Ibuxi watched the crowd crying and howling, but said with a blank expression. The exam time is 1 hour. The exam begins. Then, when Ye Shenyue got the time, she looked at the topic above and couldn't help squinting her eyes. Also, it's really interesting. Ye Shenyue smiled confidently, wanting to use this kind of problem to make things difficult for herself is simply too ridiculous. As the first question, a code question. Interpretation. Trifle. In just a moment, after reading these densely packed codes, Ye Shenyue had the answer in his mind, and suddenly became interested, so he lost his sleepiness and began to write quickly. Advertisement. According to the power of the art of war, and doing all kinds of skills and talents, in all things, there is no one in Russia. Hey, it's so easy. After Ye Shenyue finished writing the first question, a strong sense of accomplishment welled up in her heart, and she looked at the second question again. Request the characteristics of the enemy ninjas that may appear within the range of this dart and the maximum range in plain warfare. After reading the questions, Ye Shenyue felt that his IQ was insulted. Is this enough to pass the chunin exam? Genin knows it. A typical horizontal throwing motion model, the horizontal distance of 50 meters and the vertical distance of 7 meters are given in the question, and the air resistance is ignored, and the initial speed of the shuriken is 41.84 meters with the formula of uniform horizontal motion and vertical uniform acceleration. Second. On the other hand, Sasuke folded his arms and smiled confidently. I'm a genius, a member of the Uchiha clan. To me, this kind of written test question is just a joke. Sasuke opened his eyes, a trace of contempt appeared in the pupils. But when I saw the specific topic, my hands trembled. It turned out to be like this, Sasuke closed his eyes and smiled helplessly, I can't do a single question. Sasuke was also a little puzzled for a moment, what is such a question designed for? Even if I don't even know how to answer a question, this kind of question is simply too superficial in the chunin exam. Soon, Sasuke saw the 10th question. Announce the questions 45 minutes after the start of the exam. Sasuke was a little confused. And the most ignorant one, of course, is Naruto. He held his head, trembling all over. Backquote, it's too difficult. I can't do a single question. Advertisement. Naruto bit his arm, there was a big question mark in his little head. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in his mind. Naruto raised his hand and asked, I have a question. How many places are there in total? Hearing this question, all the examiners of Chunin and Ibiki Morino looked at Naruto with cannibalistic eyes. Naruto felt chilled instantly. Hee, what's the use of telling you? Don't you want the exam? Huh, if you don't want the exam, get out. Morino Ibiki replied with a cold tone. Naruto squatted down hastily, tears streaming down his face. Sasuke looked at Naruto and sighed, this guy, don't cheat. However, Sasuke's eyes showed a hint of surprise. This kind of topic is designed, and with such perverted and harsh rules, it's like trying to lure people to cheat. Sasuke's eyes keenly caught an examiner beside him, holding a notebook in his hand, and kept writing on it. Got good. Did someone get caught? Interesting. Sasuke smiled sharply. This is not a mere knowledge level test. Naruto, come to realize it. This is a test of intelligence gathering ability. Sasuke clenched his pen tightly and stopped on the test paper, but since we are going to examine the ability of intelligence gathering, then there must be someone who can grasp the answer. Otherwise, this kind of test is meaningless. He looked at the scattered ninjas who were writing quickly, and opened Sharingan directly. Okay, let me imitate your actions, let me see what you were writing. Sasuke also began to write vigorously, and at the same time, there was a smug expression on his face. Not bad. It's just the first attempt, it seems to have found a reliable guy. Afterwards, Sasuke looked at Naruto worriedly, and thought to himself. Naruto, wake up quickly. 063 There are always people who want to harm me. 8th update. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At this moment, not only Sasuke, but other ninjas also began to cross the sea, showing their special abilities. A bug flew slowly to Ye Shenyue's table. Aburame Shino. Ye Shenyue smiled faintly. This guy. Forget it, what does he care about me if he copies? Ye Shenyue had already answered all the first 9 questions, closed his eyes like a salted fish, and lay down on the table. However, his body covered the entire test paper, and the bugs couldn't get through even a little gap, so they had to find the next target. On the ceiling, a mirror is manipulated every day to reflect the direction of Xiaoji. Xiao Li, if you see it, wear a forehead protector. There was a hint of complacency in Tian Tian's eyes. Xiao Li raised his head slightly, and saw the answer reflected from above. He put on his forehead protector directly with a resolute face. Blind eyes. Hyuga Neji formed a mudra with one hand, and instantly understood the test paper of the person in front of him. Wow, woof. Akamaru lay on top of Ya's head, constantly scanning the answers of others, and then reminded Inuzuka in a low voice. Okay, Akamaru is great. Next is the 4th question. Inuzuka Tooth smiled, knowing a foreign language is extremely important at this moment. Konoha's ninjas had already sensed 770's real intention for the exam, but Naruto was still in a daze. Looking at the ninja who was writing furiously beside him, Naruto gritted his teeth. Just take a look. There shouldn't be any problem with one look. Then, he quietly explored the head. It's almost there. We'll see it soon. Naruto was a little happy. At this moment, a sound of breaking through the air was heard suddenly, and a kunai rubbed the tip of Naruto's nose, and it was directly nailed to the desk of a person behind him. What the hell? Naruto jumped up in fright. He obviously hadn't seen it yet. I saw Gangziti sneered, and pointed at a ninja behind Naruto with the tip of his pen. You have cheated 5 times, and you will be disqualified from the exam. Advertisement. What? The ninja behind Naruto looked surprised. He almost couldn't believe that he was disqualified from the exam just like that. Why? According to the rules, his 2 companions were also disqualified from the exam. They stood up and looked helplessly at their companion who was found cheating. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. The cheating ninja folded his hands and apologized again and again. Forget it. It's okay. Let's go. Don't be ashamed anymore. His companion walked out slowly towards the door. ACEE. The cheating ninja became furious, gritted his teeth and shouted at Gangziti. You bloody ninja of Konoha. What proof do you have that we cheated? As soon as the words were finished, Gangziti disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he grabbed his collar and dragged him heavily against the wall. The ninja gritted his teeth and grabbed Gangziti's arm with a pained expression on his face, twisting and struggling with his legs. Hey, our little genius has started again. Gangziti looked disdainful. We are specially selected examiners for this exam. If there is any evidence, our strength is the greatest evidence. Bang! The cheating ninja was thrown to the ground, grinning in pain. Bring your stuff. Get out of the classroom. Moronoi Hibiki also said with a cold snort. The cheating ninja hurriedly staggered with horror on his face, and left the classroom scrambling. Afterwards, ninjas were caught cheating again and again, and within a short time, the classroom lost half of its people. Naruto grabbed his hair with a terrified expression on his face. If he was the one who was caught just now, then Ye Shenyue and Sasuke would also be expelled from the classroom. God, help me. Naruto's face was full of pain. Looking at the group of ninjas, Morino Ibiki smiled faintly. At this point, his attention was focused on Gaara. Advertisement. This kid is so calm, there is no sign of panic from his expression, it's interesting. An imperceptible smile appeared on Moronoi Hibiki's face. I saw countless sand floating on Gaara's hands. One hand pressed on his own eyes, and the other hand held an eyeball condensed by sand. When she saw her appearance with her eyeballs, Gaara smiled lightly. Very good, the optic nerve is connected. Then, he pinched and exploded the eye of sand. Countless sand slowly flowed towards Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue, let me see if you are a genius. Gaara smiled lightly. And Ye Shenyue was about to fall asleep holding his chin, when he suddenly saw sand flying on his test paper. He felt helpless immediately. What the hell? I was kind enough not to make the exam more difficult for you guys. How come there are people who are not afraid of death and come to find their own bad luck? Isn't this the old birthday star who drank arsenic and thought he would live a long life? Gaara, right, Ye, disturb my sleep, let's see how I deal with you today. The next moment, I saw the sand slowly drifting towards Ye Shenyue's eyes, ready to fascinate Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue was indifferent, sparkling fruit had turned him into an aggregate of light elements, elementalization was already an instinctive reaction. Gaara's sand could only pass through Ye Shenyue's body in vain. My eyes. Ye Shenyue pretended to rub his eyes. At this moment, the remaining sand condensed into eyeballs again, trying to peek at the answers on the test paper. Seeing it soon, Gaara smiled faintly. At this moment, Ye Shenyue sneered, and directly manipulated the light element to attach to the eyeball. Immediately exuded a dazzling light. Gaara felt a burst of extremely dazzling light in front of his eyes, and his eyes were sour in an instant, so he couldn't help but let out a miserable howl, and screamed strangely. Advertisement. Ah, my eyes. Gaara covered his eyes. At this moment, his eyes were pitch black, and he was temporarily blind. For a moment, Gaara panicked, what if she lost her sight? Thinking of this, Gaara became strangely quiet, and then fell into boundless fear. What Gaara didn't know was that he had become the focus of the entire classroom now, and Ibiki Morino glanced at him with a frown. If there is anything to look at, take care of yourself. Hearing Morinoi Hibiki's scolding, everyone could only withdraw their curious eyes and continue to get busy. 5 minutes later, Gaara finally felt a little more comfortable with his eyes. Although things around him were still a bit blurry, everything was slowly getting better. What happened just now? Gaara was a little surprised. Could it be that my ninjutsu made a mistake? Impossible. No, I'll try someone else. Gaara gritted her teeth and manipulated the sand to float to the side again. When the eyeballs condensed again, Ye Shenyue used photons to attach to the eyeballs for the second time. A vast light was released from zero distance, and Gaara howled again. Hibiki Morino looked at Gaara, who became the focus again, and his face turned dark immediately. Twice. This guy. Next time, drive out directly. And Ye Shenyue smiled slightly. Hey, let you peek at my test paper. Still can't see it. Look at the little master making you blind for a month. Just when Ye Shenyue got revenge and was about to continue sleeping with a comfortable face, Hinata at the side gently touched Ye Shenyue with her elbow. Ye Shenyue was taken aback for a moment, and then heard Hinata. Her face was slightly red, and she said to Ye Shenyue in a shy voice. Mr. Ye Shenyue. Let me show you my test paper. 064 Konkuro wants to cry, please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Show me. Ye Shenyue was taken aback. I have to say that Hinata's learning ability is still very strong. After all, like little Sakura, she can successfully write the answer without cheating. Just for Ye Shenyue, it seems that it is not so necessary. Ye Shenyue was thinking of a reason to reject Hinata, when she saw Ino, who was sitting next to her, tugging at the corner of Ye Shenyue's clothes. Ye Shenyue, I can show you my test paper too. After all, he took out the answer he got from turning around with his heart and handed it to Ye Kazuki. Ye Shenyue waved his hand and said, Ino, no need, actually I don't need the test paper. Hinata wondered, Mr. Ye Shenyue, after you wrote a few times just now, you haven't written the paper. Is it because you don't know how to do it? I have the answer here. If you fail the test the first time, what should I do? Ye Shenyue smiled faintly. The first written test was about the ability to collect information, but you can pass the blank paper. He finished the written test on a whim. After thinking for a while, Ye Shenyue revealed her paper, and said to Hinata and Ino with a smile on her face. My papers are all finished, so I don't have to copy your papers, but thank you anyway. Seeing the full papers that Ye Shenyue answered, Hinata and Ino opened their eyes wide in shock, a little in disbelief. This Ye Shenyue, who hadn't seen class for several years when she was in ninja school, actually typed up all the questions. Mr. Ye Shenyue, you are amazing. Ye Shenyue smiled faintly, lay down directly on the table, and began to continue her big dream of spring and autumn. At this time, there is still half an hour before the end of the exam. But Temari and Gaara still failed to answer one question. These topics are indeed beyond the outline. Advertisement. It's so difficult. Temari gritted his teeth, and subconsciously looked at Gaara in the distance. But Gaara was in a daze at this time, looking at the test paper and having a headache. Gaara really didn't dare to use the Eye of Sand anymore, the previous two blindnesses also frightened him, and the invigilator with the scarred face seemed to have a bit of a bad look in his eyes. I didn't expect that even Gaara. Temari sighed helplessly. And Shikamaru was sitting next to her at this time, already lying on the table and starting to sleep. Although part of the answer has been revealed, Temari is still not in the mood to copy Shikamaru's answer. This guy. Temari looked at Shikamaru with disdain. I finished writing the paper in 10 minutes, it must be unreliable. This kind of guy must have a lot of papers. Hey, woman, next time you slander someone, please tell me behind your back. It's really noisy. Shikamaru looked at Temari sleepily and muttered in a low voice. Temari doesn't have the time to talk to Shikamaru this time, but puts all his hopes on Konkuro. At the same time, Konkuro gestured to Temari that everything was fine. Konkuro, in order to deal with the written test, he has also prepared a big killer. With this killer weapon, he doesn't have to pay attention to mere exams. Immediately, this guy stood up and said to Morino Ibiki. Examiner, I'm anxious. And a dull-looking examiner at the side directly locked his hands with a chain, and said to him, only the examiner can follow. Konkuro said indifferently, it's okay, it's okay. Afterwards, Konkuro was led by the examiner and walked out of the classroom directly. Temari and Gaara looked at Konkuro with hope in their eyes. Only if Konkuro succeeds in cheating, will they have a chance of successfully passing the first round of exams. Soon, Konkuro came to the toilet with a proud face. I thought these examiners were amazing, but I didn't even know that there was one more examiner. Advertisement. Kankuro looked at the examiner in front of him and smiled coldly. This examiner was naturally disguised by him with a puppet crow, and he just let the crow patrol the candidates all the time. The candidates' test papers were all recorded in the crow's eyes. Come on, let me take a good look at your answers one by one. Just as Kankuro reached out to touch the crow, suddenly, a dazzling small light spat out from the crow's mouth, and then burst. Hey, what's going on? Kankuro looked confused. Bang bang, resounds throughout the floor. Amidst the flashing flames, Kankuro was directly blown out. Quote exclamation mark quote. Kankuro felt a sharp pain all over his body, coughed twice and found that he was injured, lying on the ground with a dazed expression. Kankuro subconsciously looked left and right, but didn't find anyone else, but saw himself in the mirror of the toilet, which had been blown into a black face. Zero seeking flowers. The situation of the crow is not optimistic either. Its head has already flown into the sink, soaking in the water and bubbling. The crow's body also fell to the ground, scattered into a mess. The crow. Kankuro hastily picked up the crow. Seeing the crow's miserable condition, he couldn't help but burst into tears. 10 minutes later, the miserable Kankuro was taken back to the classroom by the invigilator. On Kankuro's face, although most of Kurozumi has been washed off, obvious traces can still be seen. As for the so-called invigilator, he was walking with a limp. This is what Kankuro has exhausted all his life's knowledge, and only with the materials he brought with him, and the only materials in the toilet are barely repaired. Advertisement. It is no longer easy to achieve this. Gaara watched as Kankuro walked over, his fingers moved slightly, and the sand slowly floated in the sky. Put it into a weird symbol. Then dissipated instantly. It was only for a moment, but Kankuro saw it. Ask how I am. Kankuro sighed and shook his head slowly. What? Temari's eyes were also surprised, and then she looked at the crow, and saw that the crow was in tatters. At this moment, she recalled the loud noise just now, and seemed to understand. Is there something wrong with the crow? Damn it, it actually fell off the chain at a critical moment. Gaara's face was extremely gloomy, and the candidates beside him couldn't help but sweat from their foreheads. Ibiki Morino looked at Kankuro, snorted coldly, and said in a cold voice. Okay, the time is almost up, go back quickly, it's not in vain for you to play with the puppet. Kankuro's pupils constricted to the point of a needle. It turned out that he already knew. Naruto raised his head, eyes full of fear. Today's Naruto can only pin all his hopes on the 10th question. And Morino Ibixi looked at the crowd, opened his lips slightly, and said lightly. Let me talk about the rules of the 10th exam first. The 10th question, you can choose to take it or not. Tamari gritted his teeth and asked, what if we don't take the exam? Don't take the test, hee. Morino Ibixi had a cannibal expression on his face. If you don't take the test, you will get a 0 score. But if you take the test and fail to answer correctly, you will lose the qualification to take the chunin test for the rest of your life. Boom. The pen in Naruto's hand was directly broken into 2 halves. Righteous. 065 This kid is as interesting as ever. Please subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Hearing this unreasonable rule, Inuzuka stretched out his finger and pointed at Morino Ibiki, gritted his teeth and said. Hey, what kind of rules are you talking about? Isn't this someone who has taken the chunin exam more than once? Yes, many of them have already taken the chunin exam many times. And this rule suddenly appeared this time, which is indeed very unusual. Morinoi Hibiki sneered, it's bad luck for you. This year's regulations are all set by me. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can withdraw from the exam and come back for the next exam. Seeing that there was no room for negotiation, Sasuke covered his face. Naruto's words, if he gets the wrong answer, he will never be able to take the exam again. Sasuke murmured to himself. And, it will also affect the entire 7th class. Little Sakura also looked worried. If Naruto chooses to insist on answering the 10th question this time, but the final result is 100, he will be eliminated. Wouldn't that be too bad? As for Ye Shenyue at this time, she just woke up, raised her eyelids, cut her eyes in disdain, and continued to sleep with her head down. Boss, give me an idea. Naruto wants to cry but has no tears. The only thing he can rely on now seems to be Ye Shenyue. But now Ye Shenyue fell asleep again. Seeing everyone's tangled faces, Morino Ibiki smiled disdainfully. Then he said to everyone, but it's not impossible. What way? Someone immediately asked. Advertisement. If you feel that your ability is not good enough, you should choose to give up. You don't have to worry about it like this. This sentence was like a basin of cold water, and everyone couldn't speak for a long time. Anyway, you can take the exam again, right? Someone asked in a low voice. Certainly. Sasuke gritted his teeth. As long as one person chooses not to take the test, the whole team will lose the qualification for the test, but if they answer wrong, they can only be genin for the rest of their lives. This is a choice that bets on my future. Most people are extremely entangled. This kind of pressure is beyond the choice of normal people. Any choice you make may hurt your companions. Morino Ibixi looked at the crowd and sneered, then the test or not, choose to start. Ye Shenyue raised his eyelids. Ibiki Morino is worthy of being the captain of the torture department. This psychological oppression, if you are on the scene, it really feels a little oppressive. But, Ye Shenyue closed her eyes lazily. For people like me who have read the script in advance, it is more comfortable to sleep more. If I get the wrong answer, I can only be a genin for the rest of my life. Naruto's expression was a little stiff, but if I don't take the test, I will hurt the boss and the others. My god, how should I choose? Naruto frowned. At this moment, the uncle next to Naruto stood up slowly. Forget it, I have been taking the exam for so many years, and this is the first time I have encountered such a regulation. But the uncle still smiled slightly. But if I give up this time, I will still have a chance in the future. But if I don't give up, maybe I won't even have a chance in the future. No more. Examiner. I give up. Exclamation mark. Number 50. Hand over your number plate. The examiner on the side knocked on the board in his hand, and his companion, number 100, number 111, leave the examination room. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. After a few apologies, the uncle walked out of the classroom helplessly. Advertisement. This uncle seems to have set a precedent. In just a few minutes, he met countless people and chose to give up. Examiner. I give up. I'll give up too. As these people walked out of the examination room, in an instant, only 1/3 of the people in the entire examination room were left. Hey, are you a liar? Uchiha Sasuke's eyes widened, and he walked so far. Although Temari didn't get Konkuro's answer, she managed to solve 2 questions on her own. She looked at Shikamaru with disdain on her face. Hello. You guys, don't you give up the exam. Shikamaru turned over, stretched his waist, rubbed his eyes and looked at Temari, wondering, you woman, you are in trouble. What does it matter to you whether I give up the exam or not? After that, he yawned. I don't know what happened to Ye Shenyue. Naruto was still extremely entangled at this time. 2 images appeared in his mind. The first picture is that I have failed, and I can only become genin in my life. In another scene, I chose to give up, but was complained by Ye Shenyue and Uchiha Sasuke. No. Naruto's eyes gradually became firmer, and he raised his hand high. Uchiha Sasuke stared at Naruto firmly, and took a breath. I finally chose. Before Uchiha Sasuke finished speaking, Naruto slapped the table directly. Don't underestimate people. I won't give up. Even if I'm a genin for the rest of my life, I'll be a Hokage for you to see. Ye Shenyue yawned. Well, it will be soon after this line comes out. There should be no suspense in this exam. Sasuke and little Sakura smiled helplessly. This idiot, he didn't think about us at all. Advertisement. Ibiki Morino looked at Naruto and smiled faintly. Naruto's words made the restless heart suddenly calm down. There was a trace of firmness in everyone's eyes. Interesting kid, he calmed down everyone's uneasiness with just a few words. It seems that no one will go out again. Morino Ibiki looked at the crowd and announced loudly. Your choices are very wise. Congratulations, I announce the first exam, and everyone here has passed. What? Over. Naruto, who had just prepared to die, was stunned when he heard the news. Everyone also looked surprised. Uchiha Sasuke asked. How did you pass the level? What about the 10th question? But at this time, on the face of Morino Ibiki, there was a kind smile that was completely opposite to before. 10th question. Actually, there is no such thing as a 10th question. If you have to say 1.0, the choice of one of the two just now is the so-called 10th question. Temari's eyes widened, and he said doubtfully, then the previous 9 questions, aren't they written for nothing? Morino Ibiki said indifferently, the questions just now are far beyond your genin's ability to answer, so you will soon judge that the only way to pass this exam is to cheat. Cheating is the ability to collect information. Those who were eliminated before were those who were poor at collecting information. As for the 10th question, it is the most difficult question in this exam. I give you the options, no matter which one you choose, you will be in a dilemma. At this time, it depends on whether you can believe in yourself. Hibiki Mori said this, and subconsciously glanced at Ye Shenyue who was basically sleeping from the beginning to the end. This kid is as interesting as ever. Chapter 066 Dead Forest Open Black Lens Bracket Subscribe. Ask for automatic. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Shaking his head helplessly, Morino Ibiki looked at the remaining candidates in the examination room, his eyes filled with relief, and continued. The rule of judging the average score of the group in this exam is to add a heavy ideological burden to you to prevent dragging your companions down. Listening to Morino Ibiki's explanation, Naruto had a happy face. Anyway, just pass it, no matter what he said. In order to show his strength, Naruto followed Morino Ibiki's words and nodded in agreement from time to time, but his appearance is really fake, and those who know him don't believe it. Seeing the various expressions on everyone's faces, Morino Hibiki slowly untied his forehead protector and turban. When the turban was taken off, everyone looked at Morino Ibiki in shock. Even Ye Shenyue's eyelids twitched, and he couldn't help but gasped. I saw the bald head under Morino Ibiki's turban, which was devastated. Scars everywhere. Scald, knife wound, drilling wound, whipping wound. Sasuke's eyes also trembled, and his fists were clenched fiercely. The scene in front of him was too terrifying. Advertisement. I saw Morino Hibiki's complexion suddenly return to the previous sternness, and said word by word. Sometimes, life is more important than information. Ninjas often need to risk their lives to obtain information when performing missions or on the battlefield. The three of Gaara sat on chairs, watching Morino Ibiki without saying a word. Morino Ibiki continued to preach for everyone with a serious face. After being detected by the enemy or a third party, the information obtained may not be reliable. And if the information is wrong, the companions in the village will be in danger. So I eliminated those unqualified ninjas. Uzumaki Naruto's eyes widened, and he muttered suddenly, so it looks like this. In this way, even if those ninjas pass the chunin exam, they might not bring help to the village in the future. It may even bring adverse effects to the village, so such a rule was established before. So what is the purpose of the 10th question? Temari asked in confusion after knowing the good intentions of Morino Ibiki. Ibiki Morino opened his hands and continued to explain to everyone. Actually, the 10th question is the real test question. Then he stretched out his finger. The 2 options for the 10th question are unreasonable. But you have a task to capture the opponent's confidential documents, but you don't know the opponent's strength, and you may die on the task. What will you do with this task? Everyone was stunned. Indeed, this question also described a dilemma. Sene Yibuxi looked at the tangled faces of everyone, smiled slightly, and said, don't you want to give up the mission if you don't want to lose the lives of yourself and your companions? Of course it can't be like this. So some missions, no matter how dangerous they are, must be accepted. And those who are timid, or pin their hopes on next year, in my eyes, are all weak-willed and downright cowards. Garbage. They don't deserve to be zipping. Advertisement. So congratulations, you have passed the first exam, and there are 2 rounds of exams left, you should work hard. Long live. Naruto cheered, finally passed the first exam, getting closer to his goal of becoming Hokage. Phew, I finally finished an exam. Ye Shenyue feels that success is at hand. Just when everyone was secretly rejoicing, they suddenly heard a clicking sound. The window burst suddenly. Amidst the smoke and dust, a huge banner was directly nailed to the ceiling and displayed to everyone. A line of large characters above the banner. The second examiner. See Mitarashi Anko. Then a black shadow flickered directly in front of the banner. I saw this woman with purple hair, a hearty expression, and big hands, said to everyone. Don't be too happy. I am the examiner of the second exam. Mitarashi Anko. There is a more dangerous second exam waiting for you. Then, he raised his hand high and shouted, come with me. However, this sudden and unprepared plot made everyone look shocked. Naruto, Sasuke and others all looked at Mitarashi Anko with dull faces, and they couldn't say a word for a long time. Advertisement. Morino Ibiki, who was blocked by the banner, got out and said in a low voice. No one cares about you at all. And Anko looked at everyone with embarrassment. After counting the number of people, the red dot looked at Morino Ibiki in surprise. 79 people. There are still 26 teams left. Isn't your test too easy? And Ibi Mori smiled triumphantly. The candidates this time are very strong. Okay, for the second exam, 20 people are enough. Afterwards, Anko showed a strange smile. I can't wait. Let's talk about it in the second exam. Ye Shenyue looked at Anko and let out a long sigh. The second exam, Forest of Death. There will be many tough opponents. Thinking of the troublesome exams he was about to face, Ye Shenyue suddenly had a feeling that the salty days were getting less and less. I hope to finish the exam soon. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. 067 The second chunin exam. Rush. The 12th update. Ask for full order. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. In front of the Forest of Death. 26 teams, a total of 79 people, stood in front of the huge fence. Everyone gasped as they looked at the gloomy forest interior. Uzumaki Naruto gritted his teeth, a trace of fear appeared on his face. He tugged at the corner of Ye Shenyue's clothes, and asked cautiously, Boss. What kind of place is this? It's scary. Ye Shenyue looked at Uzumaki Naruto on the side, and explained, this is the number 44 practice field, Death Forest. It is also the location of our second exam. By the way, what kind of ninja are you so timid? Ye Shenyue sighed helplessly and looked into the forest. This second exam will not be as smooth as the first one, and it must be full of dangers. Gaara and the others just folded their arms and looked at the Forest of Death without saying a word, seemingly full of confidence. The Otonin trio also laughed a few times strangely, and it seemed that they had been waiting for a long time. But what really interested Ye Shenyue were the 3 ninjas wearing bamboo hats in the distance. Kusanagi trio. As for their true identities, they are Orochimaru. In the world of ninjutsu, Orochimaru is the only ninja who believes in science. But their target is not Ye Shenyue herself, and Ye Shenyue also doesn't want to meddle in other people's business. And Mitarashi Anko looked at the crowd, showed a strange smile, and said, it is estimated that soon, you will know why this place is called the Forest of Death. Then, he took out a thick stack of consent forms. You need to sign the consent form, because someone will die here later, so you must volunteer. Otherwise, I will get into trouble as an examiner. What? It's just a disclaimer. Ye Shenyue complained helplessly. And the second test is to challenge the limit of survival. There are rivers and forests in the dead forest, and a tall tower is in the center, and the entrance is 10 kilometers away from the tower. You have to challenge the limit of survival in this limited time. 120 hours, or 5 days. Advertisement. 5 days. Shoji's eyelids twitched, and he had a bad premonition, so what shall we eat during these 5 days? Shoji can't do without food, and it is estimated that he will run out of food in these 5 days. Anko smiled lightly. There are everything in the forest, such as wild animals, and of course there are many beasts, poisonous insects and poisonous weeds. And your task is to fight for the scroll. After all, Anko took out 2 scrolls, on which were written heaven and earth. Half of the teams will get the sky scroll, and the other half will be the earth coiling scroll. Only the team that takes out 2 scrolls at the same time in the central tower will be able to pass. Uchiha Sasuke suddenly grasped the point at this time, a trace of cold sweat appeared on his face, that is to say, at least half of the teams will be eliminated. Anko looked at the crowd and seemed to be ready. After signing the consent form, go get the scroll. Ye Shenyue took the consent form and signed it helplessly, but he felt 2 eyes staring at him. On one side is the Otonin trio, and on the other is the Kusanagi trio played by Orochimaru. It's too difficult. Sasuke, it's all because of you that I was targeted too. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. After receiving the scroll, Anko looked at the time, and when it was the hour, he said to everyone, the second chunin exam, now officially begins. Then, I saw countless teams rushing directly into the Death Forest. And Ye Shenyue had no choice but to follow Uchiha Zuaokia and others, and entered the Forest of Death. Just run and mutter, but don't run into some tough guys. Otonin and Orochimaru are enough trouble. As soon as he entered the forest, not long after he left, he heard a scream from a distance. Ah, this scream was so tragic that it made Uzumaki Naruto get goosebumps all over his body. What sound? Uzumaki Naruto said in a trembling voice. He didn't expect to hear such screams not long after he came in. Advertisement. And Uchiha Sasuke said nervously, although there are 26 groups in total, perhaps less than Sanwei can pass. And hearing this, Uzumaki Naruto became even more nervous. He clutched his crotch and said softly, I want to shush. After all, his legs were swollen, and his face was covered with cold sweat. Ye Shenyue pointed to the grass on the side, go and come back. Good, boss. With Ye Shenyue's consent, Uzumaki Naruto hastily got into the grass. God Yayui leaned against a nearby tree, narrowing his eyes slightly. He was a little sleepy after not sleeping for so long. I just don't know how long this kind of day will last. Sudden, I heard rustling in the bushes. It turned out to be Uzumaki Naruto walking back. But at this time, Uchiha Sasuke's eyes tightened. And the next moment, a golden light shot out, directly hitting Uzumaki Naruto on the big tree behind him. Boom. Dust and smoke are surging. I saw Uzumaki Naruto lying in a big pit, trembling all over. Boom. After the smoke, Uzumaki Naruto turned into a strange ninja. Advertisement. On the head of that strange ninja is the forehead protector of Rain Shinobi Village. Backquote. How is that possible? He covered the big hole in his stomach with horror on his face, gritted his teeth and said, how did you see through me? Uchiha Sasuke was also a little surprised. He looked at Ye Shenyue, you see it too. Ye Shenyue nodded and yawned. Uzumaki Naruto is right-handed and would not tie kunai to his left leg, so this person must be a fake. The ninja from Rain Shinobi Village let out a miserable laugh and said, I didn't expect that, I underestimated you. He hurriedly got up, trying to escape. Don't run. Wang Chenjiao Uchiha Sasuke stood up hastily, made mudras with both hands, gathered the chakra in his body, shouted, and said, Fire-style Feng Xian Huo. Several small fireballs were thrown towards the Rain Shinobi Village ninja. Although the Rain Shinobi Village ninja was seriously injured, he still had the ability to move. With a muffled grunt, he endured the pain and threw himself away, trying to avoid Uchiha Sasuke's ninjutsu. Damn it, I really shouldn't have come here alone just to hide my identity. He gritted his teeth and fled directly into the distance. But suddenly, he saw a golden light flashing in front of him. He saw Ye Shenyue standing directly in front of him. Afterwards, above the legs, streaks of golden light shone. What? Before he could react, he saw a golden light blasting towards his face. The data is very poor, the author is about to cry. Counting on this book to support my family this month. Beep beep. Chapter 068 Naruto, Pagoda Town Chile. Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boom. This Rain Shinobi Village ninja was directly kicked by Ye Shenyue and fell to the ground. Cough. A big mouthful of blood spurted out, and he collapsed on the ground with a dispirited expression. Now there was a huge and tragic wound on his chest, which looked extremely terrifying. Hiss. The laser beam just now didn't kill you, what a mistake. Ye Shenyue shook his head helplessly. Impossible. Before he finished speaking, the ninja died on the spot. And Ye Shenyue sighed helplessly after groping his body for a while. Damn it. Does this guy go out without a scroll? No scrolls. Sasuke gritted his teeth, it was disgusting. But he still looked at Ye Shenyue with fear. This opponent, his ninjutsu just now was not able to kill him completely. Now it seems that he is still too weak. Damn, I didn't expect that there is such a big gap between me and him. Sasuke thought unwillingly, at least he didn't have the ability to directly kick this ninja's chest. And at this time, Naruto was rolling and crawling aside. Naruto's hands and feet were tightly bound, and his mouth was sealed. Now he was like a bug, twisting around and crawling towards the crowd. There was dust all over his body, and he still looked like he had been beaten. Idiot. 487 was caught when he went to the toilet. Sasuke untied Naruto with a look of disgust. Bah. Naruto spat out the seal on his mouth, and then looked at his opponent with disgust in his eyes. This guy. It's too much. He tied me up directly. Fortunately, there is a boss. Otherwise, he ran away. Naruto also saw the fight just now from the corner. Advertisement. Afterwards, he looked at Sasuke and said with disdain, your ninjutsu is empty. Can you compete with the boss? What? Sasuke's eyes widened. It was true that he made a mistake in the Feng Xianwo technique just now, but Naruto actually laughed at him, which made it hard for Sasuke to accept. Shut up, you crane tail, Sasuke snorted coldly. And Ye Shenyue looked helplessly at these two enemies. Okay, let's go. Wait, Sasuke stopped Ye Shenyue, and then said to him, in order to avoid people getting involved in the future, we should make a secret sign. Okay, Ye Shenyue's eyes lit up, and said, whoever we say is wrong, he is the enemy, and I will only say the secret signal once. I said Uranus Getahu, you said Pagoda Town River Demon. If someone says something wrong, beat him. This code. Sasuke was a little speechless, what do you mean? However, both Sasuke and Ye Shenyue glanced at a small bamboo tube on the side. Under the bamboo tube, Kusanagi, played by Orochimaru, is hiding in it. Both Sasuke and little Sakura understood the code, but Naruto was still a little confused. What do you mean? What does Uranus cover? Gecko. Pepper in Pagoda Town. Idiot, I can't even remember such a simple password. Sasuke looked at Naruto with disgust. Just when Naruto was still counting the words of the secret code with his fingers, he suddenly saw a kunai tied with a detonating symbol, which was directly inserted into the ground in front of everyone. Oops, get back, Sasuke exclaimed. Naruto, Ye Shenyue and others also took a quick step back. Boom, a loud bang. The dust spread instantly. Advertisement. When the dust and smoke had cleared away, Sasuke lay on the ground and coughed nonstop. He saw the little Sakura still in front of him, but there was no joy in his eyes. Uranus Keta, little Sakura hurriedly said. Bao aced Tower Town River Demon. At this time, Ye Shenyue also patted the dust off his body and stood up. Although he also guessed that there would be an attack, he really did not expect that the attack would come so quickly. Stop. Sasuke held kunai in his hand, and said to Ye Shenyue, Uranus Keta. Pagoda Town River Demon, Ye Shenyue said angrily. I am not so easy to be pretended by others. Suddenly Naruto came over staggeringly, his face darkened. Uranus Keta, Sasuke gritted his teeth. Pagoda Town River Demon. Naruto replied immediately. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in Sasuke's hand. And Naruto directly bent down, and instantly escaped kunai. Sasuke, what are you doing? Naruto yelled in confusion. Sasuke snorted coldly, maybe Naruto can escape this kunai and memorize the code. Who are you? On the face of Naruto, there was a hint of amusement in an instant. He looked at Sasuke, smiled coldly, and said, I didn't expect that you really recognized it. Flat sound. Advertisement. The smoke cleared. Kusanagi, who was wearing a bamboo hat before, appeared in front of Sasuke in an instant. Oh, I was so careless. Kusanagi's expression became extremely strange. He stuck out his long tongue, and licked the kunai on his hand. It seems that I can try the fun of hunting again up. Damn it. Sasuke gritted his teeth, looking at the opponent in front of him, feeling very tricky. Is it another counterfeit? Little Sakura was a little surprised. Ye Shenyue chuckled, that guy must know how to remember such an incomprehensible code. Ye Shenyue still knows Naruto very well. And Orochimaru, pretending to be Kusanagi, took out his Book of Earth and looked at Sasuke in front of him. You got the Book of Heaven, so what you want is the Book of Earth in my hand. The next moment, Orochimaru directly rolled up the scroll with his long tongue, and then directly swallowed it into the minister of the stomach. Seeing this picture, Sasuke couldn't help but startled, his eyes filled with a trace of surprise. It's disgusting, little Sakura said weakly. This guy, it really is Orochimaru. Ye Shenyue couldn't help but tighten his eyes. Then, the battle for the scroll, let's begin. Orochimaru lifted his own eyelids. The gloomy and cold murderous look in the eyes flooded into the minds of little Sakura and Sasuke in an instant. They were instantly shocked, and countless pictures of themselves being tortured and killed seemed to flash in their minds. At this moment, they can't move. After a while, Sasuke knelt on the ground, gasping for breath, his chest heaving and falling. Just now, was it an illusion? 069 The best reincarnation container. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The other side. Naruto lay on the ground, feeling as if his bones were about to break. It hurts, it hurts. He struggled to get up. Where did old Yamato Sasuke go? Naruto suddenly had a bad feeling, but everything in front of him made him feel a little strange. And just when he was still thinking about where he was, he suddenly found a huge shadow in front of him. He took a closer look, but was frightened out of his wits. What a big boa constrictor. He jumped up in pain. In front of him was a python that was more than 10 meters long and as thick as a towering tree, staring at Naruto. Seems to be very interested in Naruto. I've never seen such a big snake. Naruto was surprised. Is there really such a big snake in this forest? And that snake stared at Naruto, then crashed towards Naruto and fell directly. It's so fast. Naruto hastily rolled back and dodged, only to see a cloud of dust where he was originally standing. And at this time, the python suddenly appeared behind Naruto. Behind, Naruto turned his head hastily, but he saw the boa constrictor's mouth open. BOJ. The python swallowed Naruto in one gulp and burped. Let me out. Let me out. Naruto kept struggling in the python's stomach. I was swallowed alive by him. But Sasuke was still too frightened to move, facing the approaching Orochimaru. There was almost only fear in his mind. Advertisement. Who the hell is he? He has such abilities. Sasuke gritted his teeth. Faced with such murderous aura, Ye Shenyue directly used Conqueror's Haki to forcefully attack him back. He stood beside Sasuke, with a trace of solemnity on his face. Orochimaru is not something the current Ye Shenyue can deal with. Orochimaru looked at the three people who were afraid of him, sneered, waved his hand and threw kunai towards the three of them. At this critical moment, Sasuke gritted his teeth directly, stabbed a kunai hard on his thigh, and woke up directly with the help of pain. He immediately hugged little Sakura and jumped to the side. And Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, turned his body into a photon, and let Kuwu pass through his body. Orochimaru was also a little surprised to see the three people unscathed. One regained consciousness with the help of pain. Then Orochimaru looked at Ye Shenyue on the other side. The other one seems to have some special abilities. Is it the blood succession boundary? It's interesting. Orochimaru licked his lips, and said, as expected of the reincarnation of come to like. But Sasuke's legs were still bleeding. He stood up with difficulty holding the trees beside him. His eyes were full of fear. It's so strong. It's too strong. It seems to be countless times stronger than Mr. Kakashi. Why does this kind of enemy exist here? There was fear in Sasuke's eyes. At this time, a huge python suddenly appeared above Sasuke. Sasuke, be careful, little Sakura exclaimed. Just saw a huge python, biting Sasuke directly. Sasuke stepped on the ground in a hurry, jumped up, and then secretly blamed himself. Damn it. I was distracted. I didn't notice it. Advertisement. Although Sasuke escaped the python's attack, the python obviously didn't want to let Sasuke go. He wrapped around the trees behind him, and then bit Sasuke fiercely again. Sasuke suddenly remembered the fear that Orochimaru had brought him before, and then looked at the python. Suddenly covered in cold sweat, he hastily threw out several shurikens. Don't come near me, Sasuke yelled hastily. In an instant, more than 10 shuriken shots directly nailed the python to the big tree. And Sasuke fell to the ground, panting heavily. Not. Is it over? The other side, Naruto kept struggling in the python's belly, but he was squeezed so that he was not human. Damn it, so much slime. It's disgusting. Naruto gritted his teeth. He struggled a few times, and became disgusted, and even vomited the rice ball he ate into the snake's stomach. I saw that the mucus inside was more corrosive, and the rice ball turned into sweat in just a few seconds. Damn it, I can't just die like this. I want to be a Hokage. Naruto clenched his teeth. If this progress continues, he will definitely die. 0. Ask for flowers. He made seals with his hands with difficulty, and said through gritted teeth, look at the trick. Multiple shadow clone technique. In an instant, Naruto directly created hundreds of clones. But the boa constrictor, which was still in good condition, instantly swelled up, with a painful expression on its face. Boom. His stomach exploded on the spot. Advertisement. Accompanied by blood, Naruto fell to the ground, his eyes filled with the joy of the rest of his life. I'm going to support Sasuke. Naruto hurriedly ran to the distance. And Sasuke is now leaning against the tree, looking at the boa constrictor nailed to death by himself, before he can take a breath, like a doctor. The back of the boa constrictor was instantly shattered, and a figure appeared in front of Sasuke. It is Orochimaru. He. Orochimaru's sinister smile pierced Sasuke's ears. In front of predators, the prey can't be distracted. His eyes became extremely cruel, his body was bathed in blood, his long tongue was like a black and white tongue, only be extra careful, only then can I surrender. Who are you? Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise. Then I saw Orochimaru's body itself, which elongated strangely, like a snake, directly wrapped around the branch, and rushed towards Sasuke. Oops. Sasuke gritted his teeth, and Ye Shenyue stood up, eyes full of caution. When several shots of the shuriken were nailed to the branch, blocking Orochimaru directly. Sasuke and Orochimaru looked up and saw Naruto standing on a tall tree nearby. With a smile on his face, he apologized to Sasuke. I'm sorry. Sasuke, I forgot the password. Looking at Naruto, Sasuke couldn't see any joy on his face. Naruto, run. This is not an opponent we can deal with. We are not on the same level as him. Sasuke shouted hastily. Regarding this point, Ye Shenyue was noncommittal. Even if he is in front of Orochimaru, it is difficult to get the slightest advantage. 070 blind your titanium alloy snake eyes please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Orochimaru looked up at Naruto, very surprised. Hey, it looks like you've dealt with that snake, Naruto. Naruto crossed his arms and suddenly realized. So it's all your pervert's fault. And Sasuke's face was serious. After fighting Orochimaru, he understood that Orochimaru's strength was outrageous. If you fight against an opponent like this again, there will be no one left in the entire 7th class. He slowly took out the scroll of heaven and took a deep breath, as if he had made some important decision. He said to Orochimaru, I don't want the whole scroll, please let us go. The whole time, not just Sakura and Naruto, but even Orochimaru was a little surprised. And Naruto pointed at Sasuke, gritted his teeth and said, you bastard. What are you talking about? Are you kidding? How can you give the scroll to the enemy? 487. Only with the scroll can it be possible to pass the second round of exams. Without the scroll, there is really no way. And Orochimaru retracted his lower body, stood up straight, looked at Sasuke and suddenly realized. It turned out to be like this, the only thing the prey can do to satisfy the predator is to find a substitute for him. Orochimaru said grimly. Ye Shenyue sneered and appeared beside him. Sasuke, do you really think that if you give him the scroll, he will spare you? Ye Shenyue squinted her eyes and said to Sasuke. Sasuke was taken aback for a moment, indeed, there was no evidence that the opponent would let Class 7 go without the scroll. Damn, we are no match for him at all. Don't worry about it, damn idiots and crane tails. Sasuke gritted his teeth and threw the scroll directly at Orochimaru. And Naruto jumped up high, caught the scroll, and held it in his arms. Advertisement. He lowered his head and said nothing. The reason why Naruto took the chunin exam is to become a chunin. Becoming a chunin, is it still far from becoming a Hokage? Naruto couldn't accept it, Sasuke would be so stupid as to give the scroll directly to the opponent. What are you doing, crane tail? Sasuke roared. Boom. Naruto directly punched Sasuke hard. After rolling 3 times on the ground, he stopped his body. Good fight. Ye Shenyue muttered softly. You are not Sasuke. Naruto said through gritted teeth. The Sasuke I know is not a coward like you. Then he pointed to Orochimaru and said, I don't know how strong he is, but even if we give him the scroll, he might not let us go. Sasuke was silent, looking at Orochimaru, the eyes are still full of fear. But Orochimaru showed a sinister smile. Naruto. You were right. Kill you and I can get the scroll. Afterwards, he bit his finger and fell on his own hand. Summoning technique. Bang. A huge boa constrictor appeared directly in front of everyone. And Orochimaru stood on top of the python's head, looking full of murderous looks. Naruto, run. Sasuke yelled hastily. Such an opponent, in Sasuke's eyes, cannot be defeated. And the huge boa constrictor directly hit Naruto's body. Naruto flew into the air, with nowhere to focus, and his limbs were numb and painful, unable to move. Advertisement. Damn it. Naruto gritted his teeth. Looking at Naruto who fell to the ground, Orochimaru smiled sinisterly and said, eat him. Receiving Orochimaru's order, the boa constrictor screamed and charged directly at Naruto. Looking at the python that was about to bite him, Naruto also opened his eyes wide in horror. At this critical moment, Ye Shenyue jumped directly in front of him. Die, Ye Shenyue yelled, and kicked the boa constrictor directly with a flash. With the sound of an explosion, accompanied by a series of dazzling white lights. The boa constrictor let out a roar, and was kicked out fiercely. In midair, Ye Shenyue hugged Naruto directly and jumped to the side. Damn it, this guy is really tough. Ye Shenyue panted heavily. Orochimaru's strength is much stronger than him. The current Orochimaru is just fighting them with a playful attitude, and has never taken it seriously. If Orochimaru had been serious, maybe things wouldn't be so simple. Sasuke looked at Ye Shenyue, his eyes widened. This kick, it's so powerful. I saw that the skull of this huge boa constrictor was sunken, but it still raised its head tremblingly, staring at Sasuke and the others. And Orochimaru looked at Ye Shenyue, squinting his eyes slightly. It's interesting. This ninja is very interesting. Orochimaru seemed to have never imagined that Ye Shenyue's strength was so amazing. Then, his body was directly ejected like a snake, and then rushed towards Ye Shenyue and Sasuke. Damn it. Facing such an attack, Sasuke hardly had the courage to resist. And Ye Shenyue stood in front of Sasuke and took a deep breath. Blind your dog eyes. He clasped his hands together, and a dazzling white light burst out from his body in an instant. Advertisement. Facing such light, Orochimaru couldn't help directly blocking his eyes. Hateful. When the light flashed by, Orochimaru opened his eyes, but felt that everything in front of him was a double image. Looking at the backs of Ye Shenyue and Sasuke, Orochimaru sneered, thinking this is enough to jump out of my palm. Afterwards, the boa constrictor under his crotch chased and killed Squad 7 again. And this time, outside the examination room, Gang Ziti and Kazuki Azuma looked at the corpse lying on the ground, and also gasped. Hey, there are 3 corpses in total. They are ugly. Did they die from ninjutsu? Gang Ziti scratched his head, clueless. 3 inexplicable corpses appeared out of thin air. And the faces of these 3 corpses all disappeared strangely, as if they had melted. Kazuki Azuma also sighed. Hey, something went wrong so quickly in 0.4. What a trouble. Hurry up and inform Master Anko of the second exam. A chunin behind nodded. Yes. Then it disappeared directly in place. And now Anko is still sitting outside the fence of the Death Forest, feasting. The meatballs are so sweet. It really tastes good when paired with Anko soup. After taking a bite of the meatballs, he muttered, when we finish eating, we will almost be waiting for them in the tower. Then wave it around. The bamboo stick in his hand flew directly to the tree beside him and nailed it. At this moment, dozens of sticks were placed directly into a Konoha symbol. Perfect. The shape of the leaves. Anko was a little proud. At this moment, a chunin appeared directly in front of him. Something has happened. Anko Examiner. 071 Sasuke's unwillingness explodes. 4 more. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Anko chewed the ball, looking a little puzzled. What are you looking for now? Did something go wrong with the chunin exam? It's like this, said the chunin hastily. We found 3 corpses. And the way of death is extremely strange. Please hurry over and have a look. The way of death is weird. The ease on Anko's face disappeared, leaving only a trace of solemnity. She rushed to the corpse in a hurry, but found 3 corpses lying on the ground. Gang Ziti on the side gritted his teeth and said, this way of death is too weird. Their skins are gone, as if they have been dissolved. And according to these people's belongings and identity certificates, they took part in the chunin exam, the ninja of Hidden Grass Village. Seeing those people's silky appearance, Anko trembled all over, and the cold sweat dripped from his body instantly. It can't be wrong. He's definitely back. Anko gritted his teeth. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru chose to come back at this time of the chunin exam. Go and inform Lord Hokage. I'll chase them now. Anko instantly turned into an afterimage, flickering towards the Forest of Death 02. At this time, within the Forest of Death, looking at Orochimaru who was chasing after him, Ye Shenyue just wanted to curse. This Orochimaru's strength is at the level of elite Jonin, and it is still too difficult for me to deal with him now. Suddenly, Orochimaru was the first to catch up to the fleeing Naruto. At this moment, Naruto, looking back, saw a huge python head swallowing towards him. Damn it! Naruto gritted his teeth, waved the kunai in his hand, and stabbed fiercely at the python's head. Advertisement. Pooh! The boa constrictor roared, and blood flowed continuously from the wound. At this moment, Orochimaru stretched his upper body strangely, and instantly pinched Naruto in his hand. Little guy, you can really run. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes slightly, and licked the corner of his mouth with his long tongue. Damn it, let me go. Naruto gritted his teeth, took out a shuriken from the dart bag tied to his leg, and then flew directly to Orochimaru. Even though the distance was so close, Orochimaru turned his head to avoid directly, and at the same time, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The tail of the crane. Sasuke was about to continue running away, but saw Naruto being directly pinched by Orochimaru, who was in danger. In desperation, a strange blood light flashed in his eyes. After the blood wheel eye was opened, he roared and punched the boa constrictor fiercely. Boom! The huge boa constrictor trembled from the beating, and Orochimaru's face changed color. Sasuke, I won't let the mud go. Orochimaru smiled lightly, then looked at Naruto. However, this little guy is what I have to deal with first. These 2 boys. Ye Shenyue clenched his teeth. He didn't expect that one Sasuke and one Naruto would be so excited now, and they rushed forward directly. Gathering his hands together, a ray of light radiated from his whole body. Eat me a laser beam. A flash of gold burst out from Ye Shenyue's hand in an instant, blasting towards Orochimaru directly. Seeing this golden light, his complexion changed slightly. Unexpectedly, there is such a strength. He seems to be a little happy. It seems that Ye Shenyue is also a genius-level figure. Advertisement. It's just a pity that having a Sasuke is enough. He held on to Naruto, who couldn't move, jumped into the air and landed on the big tree beside him, and the python was blasted firmly on the body by the laser light. There was only a miserable howl, and the boa constrictor lay directly on the ground, howling miserably. Orochimaru sneered, and nailed the immobile Naruto to the tree trunk with his backhand. He looked at Ye Shenyue and Sasuke with murderous intent in his eyes. Sasuke stood on the ground beside him, looking at Orochimaru, and Sharingan locked on this person firmly. Hateful, he clenched the shuriken in his hand, and then jumped up. If I can't risk my life at this time, how can I defeat Big Brother? Sasuke's eyes were full of hatred for Orochimaru, and he was going to kill Orochimaru directly with his shuriken. And Orochimaru's body seemed to have turned into a long snake, crawling on the ground, writhing constantly. Its speed even surprised Sasuke a little. You can't hide from my Sharingan. Sasuke shouted loudly, Sharingan locked onto Orochimaru firmly, and then threw the shuriken directly at Orochimaru. Facing Sasuke's shuriken, Orochimaru's body tilted slightly to avoid the shuriken. Orochimaru dragged his long tongue, and there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. Able to predict my movements and attack my vitals, it seems that he can see me. It's a Sharingan. And Orochimaru's smile only lasted for a moment, and then became stiff. Sasuke shouted loudly, and several long lines appeared in his hand. Advertisement. Then pull back hard. Shuriken wields the windmill three great swords. After Sasuke read out a series of awkward names, he saw the shuriken wrapped around the thread, and directly tied Orochimaru forcefully. The shuriken technique that only Sharingan can use, this Sasuke is really quick to master. Ye Shenyue looked at Sasuke 700, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. And Sasuke smiled coldly, and his hands slowly sealed. His expression was extremely confident, and he shouted loudly, Fire style. Dragon Slayer technique. Immediately, a burst of fire turned into a pillar of fire, blasting directly at Orochimaru's face. The manic flames ignited immediately, almost wanting to sweep everything around. The towering ancient trees behind it were burnt pitch black. The flames dissipated, but Orochimaru remained where he was. It's just that the human skin mask on his face became shattered. You can use the Sharingan so freely at such a young age, you are indeed a descendant of the Uchiha clan. Then, he raised his head and looked at Sasuke with unconcealable excitement on his face. I really want you, my Sasuke. He touched his eyes, and then, a burst of killing intent rushed over in an instant. Sasuke instantly felt that his body was nailed in place, almost unable to move half a point. Oops, it's a restraint technique. I can't move anymore. Sasuke gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. As expected of a brother, you can see from your swollen eyes that your strength far surpasses Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru chuckled, fooling Sasuke. Chapter 072 Anko, don't be so cold to me. 5th watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Hearing that name, Sasuke trembled all over, and the Sharingan in his eyes became more and more obvious. Who are you? You know that name. Sasuke seemed very surprised that he heard the man's name from this man's mouth. Thorn. Fragments of the human skin mask kept falling from Orochimaru's face. The skin under the mask looked extremely pale, sickly like a cold-blooded animal. Hey. Orochimaru's hoarse voice came to Sasuke's ears. I am Orochimaru. If you want to see me again, try to pass this exam. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out the scroll, and then a burst of flames directly wrapped the scroll, as if it was about to burn to nothing. Orochimaru. Sasuke murmured. But you have to defeat my subordinates. 3 sound ninjas. Sasuke snorted coldly. You don't want it. I will never want to see you again. He. Orochimaru looked at Sasuke. His pupils looked like snake eyes. How can I do that? You are my Sasuke. The voice just fell. Orochimaru's neck stretches instantly. Like a continuously extending dough, like a spring, it directly opened its teeth and bit Sasuke's neck. Advertisement. Sasuke was trembling all over, and now he felt dizzy and aching all over his body, which was unbearable. Heaven's curse seal. Ye Shenyue took a breath. Hey, this is not something to be messed with. The curse seal of the sky can give Sasuke powerful power, although such power will cause great overdraft to Sasuke's body. However, when Sasuke has tasted the sweetness of this power, he will definitely be immersed in this power, and wants to defeat Yajibo Itachi through this kind of external power. This is how Orochimaru controls Sasuke. Seeing the success, Orochimaru shrank his head back. Then he smiled slightly. Sasuke will definitely come to me, because only I can give him strength. Enough power for vengeance. On Sasuke's neck, 2 tooth marks remained on it, and at the same time, there was a curse mark pattern of 3 hook jade on the neck. Sasuke plopped and fell directly to the ground. So sad. He lay on the ground moaning continuously. Naruto, who was in a coma, quickly got up and ran to Sasuke's side. Sasuke, how are you doing? At the same time he looked at Orochimaru. You did something to Sasuke. I'm going to kill you. At this moment, an ominous chakra is spreading. This chakra, Ye Shenyue smelled a fox in it. It's interesting. And even though Orochimaru had sensed a slight abnormality, he still smiled coldly. I just gave him a parting gift. Quote. However, when he saw Naruto's scarlet eyes, his face tightened. Advertisement. From Naruto's body now, a faint chakra is emitting. This chakra looks weak, but it is actually extremely terrifying, and has an ominous aura. Kill you. Naruto let out a loud shout, and his figure suddenly formed a scarlet afterimage. Boom. A hard punch landed directly on Orochimaru's body. Orochimaru's body instantly pierced through several big trees and slammed into a rock behind him. Hey, you can't be wrong, it's you. Orochimaru slowly got up, now the clothes on his body and the concentration on his face are more and more obvious. And once the scarlet afterimage flashed in front of him. I saw an ominous chakra on Naruto's ferocious face, and at the same time, the nails on his right hand had grown unknowingly, and he clenched into a fist, and directly punched Orochimaru. But with this punch, Orochimaru dodged sideways, then stretched out his long tongue, and immediately strangled Naruto's neck. Naruto kicked his legs and struggled wildly, but it didn't work yet. The leakage of the seal is still too little, just having this chakra is not enough. Ye Shenyue frowned. And Orochimaru looked at Naruto with curiosity on his face. I didn't expect you, the Nine-Tails kid, to be alive. Orochimaru slowly sealed his hands, and the chakra spread directly. Because of the violent fluctuation of emotions, Nine-Tails appeared again, and even the seal leaked. With one hand, he directly lifted Naruto's clothes, and saw the imprint of the seal directly above his stomach. As for his other hand, there was a strange purple light shining on it. 5 elements seal. Orochimaru yelled loudly and slapped Naruto hard on the stomach. Advertisement. Naruto howled miserably, his limbs twitched, and then the chakra on his body gradually disappeared, and his body also fell to the ground. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke fell to the ground, and seeing Ye Shenyue and Haruno Sakura not far away, Orochimaru just smiled lightly, and then slowly disappeared in place. Backquote. Sasuke, you will come to me. Quote. When Orochimaru's voice disappeared, Ye Shenyue also breathed a sigh of relief. He can already perceive it through observation haki, and now Orochimaru has left here. Seeing the two people who couldn't move on the ground, Ye Shenyue sighed helplessly. How could he let himself be involved in such a thing? Seeing the sky gradually getting dark, Ye Shenyue had no choice but to pick up Naruto with one hand and Sasuke on his shoulder, searched for a cave, lit a fire, and looked at the two people. Naruto, you are better. As for Sasuke, the curse seal has only 1/10 survival rate. Sasuke, Zhao Li's, I don't know if you have such good luck this time. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh, she just wanted to come here to be a salted fish with no worries. Looking at it now, it seems that salted fish is not so easy to be. The other side of the dead forest. Anko is constantly looking for Orochimaru's footsteps in the forest. Her heart seemed to panic too. Orochimaru hadn't been around for a long time after all. This time, I still don't know what kind of situation it is. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Anko. Anko looked at the figure in front of him and sneered, didn't expect you, as an S-rank rebel, would dare to come here. With a sneer, Orochimaru tore off the human skin mask on his face, revealing his true face underneath. Long time no see, Anko, why are you so indifferent to me? Chapter 073 Two snakes kill each other. 6 more. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Looking at Orochimaru, Anko's expression became much firmer, as if he had made some great determination. I must defeat you, even if it costs me my life. Anko's hand trembled suddenly, and thousands of sticks appeared in her hand. Is that right, Orochimaru? Orochimaru looked at Anko, but looked very disdainful, and said in a casual tone, you can't stop me. Then, his eyes suddenly became extremely cold. His tongue stretched out suddenly, like a python, winding towards Anko. I was your former subordinate. This method is nothing more than that. Anko snorted coldly, stretched out a hand, and directly grabbed the big snake's tongue. You don't want to escape. Stalker. In an instant, 4 lion majesty stretched out from Anko's hand, wrapping around Orochimaru's tongue. Then Anko shouted loudly and exerted force suddenly, and Orochimaru was directly pulled over abruptly. Bang! It was directly thrown by Anko on the tree behind him. The backhand shinbun stabbed Orochimaru's joints. Orochimaru screamed in pain. Anko seized the opportunity, directly grabbed Orochimaru's hand, overlapped with his own hand, and pressed it against the tree. Raise the kunai, suddenly stab it down. Pooh! Blood spattered, and the palms of the two of them were directly nailed to the tree trunk at the same time. On Anko's face, there was a strange smile, brimming with murderous intent. Advertisement. Hey, I caught you, Orochimaru. Anko directly grabbed Orochimaru's hand. Lend me your hand. Afterwards, the hands of the two directly formed yin-yin seals at the same time. This seal is. Orochimaru glanced at his hand, then looked at Anko provocatively. Don't you want to kill yourself? Anko looked at Orochimaru with determination and killing intent, and the smile on his face became colder. Yes, I just want to die here with you. Orochimaru. Ninja method. 2 snakes killing each other. The double snake killing technique is a ninjutsu that summons 2 snakes, and then restrains the caster and the opponent at the same time. It is a desperate way to end together. Today's Anko has already made up his mind to kill. Do you really want to die with my clone? Orochimaru sneered. Then, another figure appeared behind Anko. Anko suddenly broke out in cold sweat, seeing the so-called big snake ACDG pill in front of him, which suddenly turned into a clone and dissipated into the air. As a special Jonin, what's the matter with you always using the forbidden technique I taught you? Orochimaru looked at Anko, closed the mudra with one hand, and used the binding technique again. Anko couldn't move immediately, and knelt directly on the ground, supporting his body with 2 hands. He looked at Orochimaru and asked, why did you come here? Do you want to assassinate Lord Hokage? Orochimaru patted his buttocks, sat on a stone beside him, looked at Anko, and tidied his clothes loosely. How could it be, Mr. Sarutobi? I still don't need to kill him. Besides, I can't handle it. I just want to find some malleable talents. Suddenly, the curse mark on Anko's neck resurfaced. Damn it. Anko scratched his neck, just feeling the pain in his body. He is also the same as you now, and he also has the curse seal, and I really want to get that child. Advertisement. Orochimaru put on his own clothes and took off the human skin mask, looking extremely handsome. Anko looked at Orochimaru with killing intent on his face. You are foolish. You will kill him. It's only a 1/10 chance, maybe I will live a good life like you. Anko took a few breaths, struggled and sat down on the ground behind him, looked at Orochimaru and forced a smile. It seems that the child suits you. Orochimaru stood up. Are you jealous? It seems that you are unwilling to be abandoned by me. And Anko's face was dripping with cold sweat at this time. Why did he suddenly lose all strength, and fell to the ground with a plop? However, if you displease me, I will destroy Konoha village. With the smoke, Orochimaru disappeared in place. On Anko's face, a trace of fear appeared. On the other side of the dead forest. A shallow cave, not even a cave, is just a small concave wall. They can't even hide their bodies. Naruto and Sasuke, who were unconscious, were lying on the ground like this, with wet towels on their heads. Really, I owe it to you too, don't let me stop now. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, and sat down on the ground with a sad face. Looking at the sky, it was gradually getting dark. At this moment, little Sakura, sitting beside a bonfire with her legs crossed, stood up and said, "Let me fetch some more water." Ye Shenyue shook her head. "No, an unexpected guest is here." His observation haki never fooled him. Besides, the trio of sound ninja under Orochimaru will never let them go, this is an absolute thing. Advertisement. I saw it among the bushes in the distance. The Otonin trio are hiding in it. Their faces were full of murderous intent. Hey, Toss smiled coldly, the target is that kid from the Uchiha clan. Do you understand? Sak looked at Toss and asked, if those people resist, should we kill him? That's no need to ask. Toss said dissatisfied, okay, we have to wait for dawn to start. Toss closed his eyes slightly, and there seemed to be a trace of killing intent on his face. Now they just need to wait. Ye Shenyue leaned against the wall, he still didn't care much about the Otonin trio. Originally Naruto and Sasuke were enough to deal with these guys. You can completely treat yourself as a salted fish. Suddenly, a sense of hunger welled up in my heart. Damn it, I haven't eaten all day. I'm so hungry. Ye Shenyue's eyes seemed to be glowing green. The same is naturally true of Haruno Sakura, let alone Naruto and Sasuke. The two of them had just gone through a battle, and now they were lying on the ground with serious injuries, so they definitely needed more nutrition. Ye Shenyue stood up and stretched. Little Sakura, you go and take care of them first. I'm going to hunt and find some wild animals, you can take a look at them first. He twisted his body, he still believed in the strength of Sasuke and Naruto, even if he left now, they would not have much influence. What's more, it can still be a good thing to rely on the trio of Otonin to hone their strength. 074 Uzumaki Naruto's obsession. Open black lens bracket and update. Ask for full order. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Damn, boss. Naruto's weak voice came over. He slowly got up and looked around for Ye Shenyue. Boss, Sasuke. How is it? Naruto weakly asked Ye Shenyue not far away. Ye Shenyue smiled lightly, tidied up his clothes, and said, Sasuke has nothing to do, he just needs to rest. Naruto, take care of Sasuke first. I'll go hunt some prey and give you supplementary nutrition. Then, he slowly walked towards the distance. And Naruto's eyes lit up immediately. What does Ye Shenyue go hunting mean? They have something to eat. Boss, hurry up and come back. Now, Naruto's strength has been recovered by half. But Naruto turned his head to look at Sasuke on the ground, still a little worried. Sasuke, you idiot, you've become like this now. Looking at Sasuke, who was covered with a high fever, Naruto was obviously still a little worried. He sat beside him, dragging his chin. At this moment, they heard three figures walking towards them not far away. It's almost time, let's do it. Toss smiled lightly. Looking at Naruto, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. Smelly brat, hand over Sasuke, and I can spare your life. At this time, Sak and Shin also stood beside Toss. You guys, what do you want to do to Sasuke? Advertisement. Although Naruto is naive, he is not a fool. He has heard it from Orochimaru's words. These people are Orochimaru's subordinates. Since this is the case, the current Naruto cannot let them approach Sasuke easily. Little devil, don't be ignorant of good and evil. Sak sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. You are just a waste, do you really think that you will not die here? Naruto directly stopped in front of Sasuke with firm eyes. The boss is gone now. I can only rely on me here. I must protect Sasuke. Naruto took out kunai, gritted his teeth and said, don't underestimate people. I am Naruto from Konoha. I will defeat you. There's so much nonsense. Toss snorted coldly, do it. As soon as the words fell, Sak rushed towards Naruto directly. Its speed even surprised Naruto. So fast, so strong. Naruto hastily raised kunai. When kunai directly hit the kunai in the hands of Toss, but it was obvious to Sak that he was not a ninja who simply used kunai to fight. It's really a brat, it seems that you don't cry when you see the coffin. Sak raised his hand and aimed directly at Naruto's body. Chop the empty wave. In an instant, it was so solid that it hit Naruto's chest hard like a hammer. Cough. There was a splash of blood in Naruto's mouth, and he flew upside down, hit the ground, and only stopped after rolling on the ground for several times. Advertisement. Damn it, this guy is so strong. Naruto wiped bloodline at the corner of his mouth, and there was a trace of unwillingness in his eyes. He didn't expect that this Sak actually had such an ability. From this point of view, it was because he still had too little information about his opponent. Hey, brat, do you know what I'm capable of? Sak looked very proud. After all, he just knocked Naruto into the air all at once. Naruto, what's wrong with you? Little Sakura looked terrified. You actually knocked Naruto into the air. Naruto stood up and smiled disdainfully. HMPH. My skills are not limited to these. He made seals with his hands, shouted loudly, and said, multiple shadow clone technique. In an instant, more than a dozen clones were directly separated, and they rushed directly towards Sak. It's just more, so what's the problem? Sak smiled sinisterly, and made several consecutive chopping waves, directly breaking up 4 or 5 clones of Naruto. At this moment, Naruto gritted his teeth, clenched the Fuma Shuriken in his hand, and threw it towards Sak. Die. The speed of the Fumo Shuriken's rotation is incomparably fast, and the suppressive force looks extremely terrifying. Do you think I'm a kid? It's just this trick. Sak easily dodged the Fuma Shuriken with a sneer on his face. 0. Ask for flowers. HMPH, idiot Sasuke. Now you are being protected by me. Naruto smiled confidently. I saw the Fuma Shuriken on the back of Zack suddenly changed into Naruto. Oops, idiot Zack. This kid doesn't have a Fuma Shuriken at all. Toss also remembered at this time. It seems that he still underestimated the enemy. I saw Naruto directly lock Zack's neck. Zack gritted his teeth and struggled for a moment, and then several clones hugged Zack's thigh directly. Advertisement. Now Toss is really struggling. I want Sasuke's life. Let me pass Naruto's level first. Naruto yelled loudly, stabbed Sasuke's body with a ruthless kunai. Puff. Blood splatters. Hey. Naruto smiled confidently, blood spattered even onto his face. But unexpectedly, Zack lowered his head with difficulty, and said with a sneer, if you want to kill me, if you only have this level. But it's not enough. As soon as the words fell, I saw Zack directly put his hand on Naruto's wrist. Chop the empty wave. Bang. The kunai in Naruto's hand was immediately blown away. And Zack caught kunai with 2 fingers in his backhand, and stabbed Naruto suddenly. And now Naruto, restricted by Zankonbo, has almost no ability to act. He was directly stabbed in the chest by this kunai. Damn it. Naruto took a few steps back, with blood on his chest. Zack, why did you become like this? You will get hurt even if you deal with such a brat. Shin smiled disdainfully. Zack held the scar on his chest, and a trace of anger appeared on his face. He gritted his teeth and said, damn kid. I can't spare you. Looking at the kunai stabbing Naruto, the little Sakura also opened her eyes wide in horror. Naruto is vulnerable to such an enemy. Toss also snorted coldly at this time, and said slowly, enough, quick battle. Our goal is Sasuke. But Naruto stood up unsteadily, and pulled out the kunai stuck in his chest. It's not over yet. 3 bastards for a long time. 075 Blackened Sasuke. Second update. Ask for full order. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Although Naruto was stabbed in the chest by kunai, he is the constitution of the Uzumaki family, so he is not so vulnerable. He looked at the few people in front of him and gritted his teeth. It is this Odonin trio who want to take away Sasuke. This is something that Naruto absolutely cannot tolerate. As long as it is a guy who wants to deal with Sasuke, I will definitely kill him. Naruto gritted his teeth. Toss saw Naruto and sneered, little brat, it's really troublesome. Don't you still not know how much you have? Afterwards, he rolled up his sleeves, directly revealing the sensation of his arms hidden under the clothes. This will make you pay the price you deserve. Toss rushed directly to Naruto, and then punched Naruto hard. Damn you, I still remember you. You were the ones who injured Senior Do. Naruto, 040, became even more angry. I will not forgive any of you today. He sideways dodged Toss' punch directly, and looked at Toss, HMPH, I dodged this punch. But the next moment, Naruto's eyes widened suddenly. He just took a few steps back, fell to the ground, and covered his ears. Haha, idiot, even if you can escape my fist, can you still escape the sound? Toss snorted coldly. Blood flowed from Naruto's ear, and at the same time, he felt dizzy. If the sound exceeds 150 decibels, the tympanic membrane will be shattered. At the same time, the semicircular canals in the ear will also be impacted. If this happens, people will lose their balance. Looking at Naruto, he was even more proud, that is to say, it will be difficult for you to move freely now. Naruto's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe that his opponent still had such abilities. He made mudras with both hands with difficulty, gathered the chakra in his body, and shouted, multiple shadow clone technique. Advertisement. Bang. Countless avatars flashed out again, but these avatars seemed to be dangling here and there, vulnerable to a single blow. At this time, Zack showed a playful smile, and he rushed directly to Naruto. It's just that there are too many of them, and scum is still scum. Sark smiled disdainfully. Looking at Zack who was rushing straight towards him, Naruto raised the kunai in his hand with difficulty, and suddenly stabbed at his thigh. Puff. Blood splatter. With the help of the pain, Naruto's nerves tensed instantly. Looking at the opponent, his eyes were full of firmness. Whoever it is, as long as it wants to attack Sasuke, I will not forgive him. At the very moment, Naruto leapt up, slammed a kunai, and directly stabbed Zack's neck. Blood splattered, squirt out, the artery was punctured, and Zack clutched his arm with a look of futility. How could it be like this? Zack seemed to have lost all strength even to speak, and his eyes gradually darkened. With a plop, it fell to the ground. Zack, Toss and Chin roared, they didn't want to believe that Zack died in the hands of Naruto. Naruto chuckled, but his body lost his center of gravity again, and he fell directly to the ground. To be able to defeat a trio of Odonin, he has already tried his best. It can be said that Naruto has already played a level that he could not perform at all before. Damn bastard. Advertisement. Toss grabbed Naruto fiercely, grabbed his neck and smashed it to the ground. Boom. The ground behind it shattered directly. Smoke and dust surged. Naruto's eyes went dark, and at the same time, his whole body was in severe pain, and a mouthful of blood gushed out directly. I want to attack Sasuke. Impossible. Naruto opened his eyes hard, and looked at Toss, whose face was covered with bandages in front of him. If my boss comes back, you will definitely die. Toss laughed. Boss, your so-called boss is just a clown who ran away from battle. As for you, you are a dead end. At the same time, he punched Naruto hard again. Naruto's face turned pale, and he flew upside down. Boom. After smashing several big trees in a row, he stopped his body. Sasuke. Naruto struggled to lean against the tree, and now he seemed to be unable to tell the difference between up, down, left, and right. And Toss walked to his side, sneered, I want to see, you can't struggle for long. At the same time, he raised his fist and slammed it fiercely towards Naruto's head. It seems to be directly blasting Naruto's head. At this critical moment, I saw a hand that directly grabbed Toss's wrist. On the arm, a black line exuding a pale blood luster gradually adhered to the skin. This is. Toss instantly had a bad feeling. It was you who hit Naruto. Sasuke's voice became extremely vicious. At the same time, the chakra on his body looks extremely terrifying. It's extremely cold. It's like falling into an ice cave when people take a look at it. Advertisement. Naruto looked at Sasuke, with a hint of joy in his eyes. Sasuke. Toss snorted coldly, punched Sasuke hard with his backhand. HMPH. Sasuke, since you're awake, don't blame me for being rude. The voice just fell. Bang. Sasuke directly blasted the gauntlet on Toss's hand with a punch. Ah, Toss howled, and then saw Sasuke put one hand on his shoulder with horrified eyes, and the other hand grabbed his arm. Sizzle. The arm was torn off abruptly by Sasuke. Blood spurts. Toss fell to the ground, clutching his broken arm, howling miserably. And Sasuke looked at the curse mark on his body, his eyes were full of excitement. I finally understand. This is the power he bestows. 5.8 inches. The dark chakra on his body spread again. I am an Avenger. Even if I want to sell my soul to the devil, I must find a way to gain power. That's great, haha, it feels like countless forces are emerging. Although Sasuke didn't open the blood wheel eyes at this time, he could still see his eyes, which were extremely scarlet. Sasuke. Naruto looked at Sasuke like this, and for a moment, he was a little at a loss. And Sasuke squatted down, stroking the scars on Naruto's body, trembling all over, as if dominated by anger. He stood up, turned his head, and looked at Toss who was howling on the ground and Shin who was at a loss not far away. Is this all a good thing you did? Really good.